What up, though, One Pride? This is the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, the podcast where One Pride goes worldwide. My name is Anthony Fitzpatrick. I'm joined this evening by Ryan McCluskey, which can only mean one thing. It is time for your weekly dose of college knowledge as we talk the college football podcast. Miami, Mon Ami. Ryan, we are up to week 8 of the season we are about to review now, and on the top of things, if you're looking at this, few things happen this weekend, but if you're a deep hardcore college football fan, you will know this was the weekend of upsets everywhere, from ranked teams right down to the bottom of the group of five. There were double-digit favorites, expected favorites getting knocked out of the park by a whole host of teams, and this just continues this trend of chaos this year where nobody's safe. Nobody knows who's making the playoffs, and each week brings up a new wrinkle into the first story of this new 12-team playoff system.
Yeah, you can make a strong case for a 16-team playoff already this year, an 18-team playoff, because I don't know, like there's too many teams right now that could or should make the playoffs. 12 spots just doesn't feel like too many. But then also it also feels like it's too many spots because half of these teams are crap. Like I said, they're just you can't trust these teams as far as they can throw them. You can count on one hand the genuine title contenders.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't even know if I don't feel like there is at the minute. I thought there was one out there, and then last weekend happened, and I'm not sure at this
Suppose
moment. I
technically, yeah,
couldn't.
there's one title contender that has dealt with the recent weeks the best.
Yeah, I don't know. And there's so many teams from the group of five and underdogs from the Power Four who are still there, who are still unbeaten, and you're like, well, by Jove, I feel like this is a year where we could be about to witness a real shock. So we're gonna, as I say, take a look back at week 8 of the college football season today, and then we're going to take a little look ahead to week 9 as well. We got a bit of news to start off with. Let's just get all the housekeeping stuff out of the way because we got a lot of stuff to talk about. So, Royal Lines UK Discord, if you want in, let us know. We'll fire you a link. The main podcast is back tomorrow. We are doing our Tennessee Titans preview as the Lions head back to Ford Field after a couple of road dubs in a row. Lions Nation Unite, don't forget to like that, or we're part of Herman Moore's community to bring together the best in Lions content creators to form one big community for you, the fans out there. And of course, don't forget to like and sub to us on YouTube, Twitch, all that good stuff. It really helps us out and we really appreciate it. If you like what we do, click that like button there. Don't forget we're a Twitch affiliate, we YouTube monetize, we've got a tip jar, all that sort of stuff. So if you want to help us that way, great. But we just love having you all in the building first and foremost, especially when we're talking college ball. And we got a feedback form as well. So if anything you want to let us know about, anything you'd like to see change, just fill that in. We will take all critique on board. Right, we've got all that stuff out the way. Shout out to Brent who's in the building this evening. Hope you are all right, Brent. He goes, howdy everyone. When's the last time Army and Navy have been a combined 13 and 0? Well, all I know is the last time they were both 6 and 0 was in 1945 at the end of World War II. So you're going to be having to dig back further into the archives than that. I've tried having a look. I can't find any archived records at the minute of both of them being 13 and 0, but you're probably going pre-World War II at this point in time. But yeah, the service teams continue to look amazing, and one of them has a very big show this upcoming weekend to see whether they are for real or whether they are just a mirage this year. And we'll talk about them in a bit. You got any questions you want to ask us during the evening? As always, just let us know and we will fit them in the show somewhere as we go along.
Just opened Twitter and saw something very interesting.
Oh, go on.
So apparently, there's a burrito restaurant all run by ASU alumni, and from the 5th of October onwards, you can now get a cam scatter burrito. He's made his own burrito, and they've sold 500 already in this month. It's
Scatter
got chicken,
burrito.
beans, cheese, potatoes, tomatoes, onion, sour cream, guac, rice, and 14-inch flour tortilla. But he's a thick growing boy, so it doesn't surprise me that he's got a line of burrito. But yeah, get down to Burrito Express for a scatter burrito.
Oh, I would love to be
I think some of
sponsored
the
by that.
that yeah, that's quite cool. The restaurant is run by ASU alumni.
Oh, that's cool.
It's on the campus.
Absolutely. Oh, well, we'll need to do that.
Oh, that's my first tweet. He just shared it out. He just retweeted it.
I'd love that. First one, Royal Lines UK, sponsored by the Scatty Burrito. Oh, that would be awesome. Oh, we need to get in touch with them, see if we can set up something going here. So yeah, if you are in the Arizona State area, go check out the Scatty Burrito. Anywho, let's say yeah, anything you want to ask us this evening, just let us know. We shall get that involved in here. So news, and I'd kind of forgotten about the whole head coaches losing their job quite scenario. It seems some time since we've had a fire, and we've not had a fire in this season up until this point. And then the other day, we got our first head coach firing of the year. I want to say, is it the year or it might be the second? There's not been many. Has there been any others?
No, this is the first
This is
notable.
the first. Yes, I'm pretty sure it is. And I completely forgotten about this because I just thought teams were sticking with the guys. But we have had some firings this week, and the first head coach of this season to be fired in the wake of week 8 was Mike Houston out at East Carolina. He has been there for 5.5 seasons. His first 2 seasons yielded just 7 wins, but then in 2021 and 2022, it looked like the corner had been turned. The team won 15 games. They made it to successive bowl games, the first times they've been to one since 2014. But then the team bottomed out in 2023. They went 2-10 with just 1 win in the American. And whilst they are 3-4 this season, so technically better in their win total, they are coming off huge blowout losses. Firstly, to Biff Poggi and Charlotte, who are not very good this year, and most recently this weekend to the Army Black Knights. Yes, Brent, your Black Knights have gotten a head coach fired. 2 big blowout losses in a row. His final record was 27-38, which doesn't sound too bad, but then when you look at his American record, he was 15-28, so basically 1 win for every 2 losses in conference. And East Carolina, Ryan, this is a big team. This is a team that regularly pulls in crowds of over 40,000. It is well financed in this age of NIL. It's not one of the bottom feeders. These results just not good enough for this team, especially with the American having so much realignment, having the service teams in there now, having a lot of the big dogs gone over to power conferences, and they've still not made steps forward, and he's ultimately paid the price for that.
Yeah, it feels very reactive, doesn't it? Like you say, when you look at his career as a whole, he's actually done really good, apart from a 2-10 season, and he's actually had a crazy amount of talent has passed through the Pirate Stars as well. Like I say, one of the best statistical QBs of the decade, Holton Ahlers, like I say, was the long time guy. They've not really recovered from, like say, losing their quarterback, and they've not really done a good job of sourcing an adequate replacement. A lot of the losses this year, they've not been very close. The only time they've lost and got remotely close was to App State and Tulsa. And yeah, the two service teams, like I say, Navy beating 10-0 and then Army beaten by a clear 17. Those were two of the hot bits of straw that brought the camel's back. It's a very attractive team. It's not like they're going to struggle to get lots of applications. Like I say, they've just potentially, even with torn ACL like Siobhan Ravel, they still could send a sneaky first round potential DB to the draft, like I say, or at least a good second round after the injury. So plenty of talent on the books there. It's in a good place, great fan base, good school. Like I said, they won't struggle all higher. Like I say, it's just kind of a shame that it's kind of run out. Like I say, he'll only remember, like I say, for the 2-10 in this season, and not like say the 2-7, and like I say the 8 win seasons that were really good. So it's a shame. But yeah, I'm surprised this is the first domino to fall with
Hmm.
how badly some of the teams in the country are doing right now. This is the guy that is the one that pays the first price. But yeah, like I say, it's could you have given to the end of the year? Probably. I mean, would it have hurt? Probably not made any difference, no. So it just uh, sucks for both sides, really.
Yeah, this would not have been in my top 10 of coaching firings I would have seen coming first. So it is a shame for him, but I guess when the losses start getting big and to the level of opposition, like you have nearly a 60 burger dropped on you by Charlotte. That'll be a lot for people to stomach, especially in year five of a regime. So I guess it's tough, but that is the world. It moves on, and yeah, East Carolina probably going to be one of the more attractive jobs going forward. I would expect a lot of people to apply for that job, and that's going to be a big hire for them because they need to reestablish themselves in the American going forward. Got a few more people joining in. Mile Marker's in the building. Grandize is in the building. No, Mile Marker, getting the notify. I only set the stream up about 20 minutes ago. I didn't know whether Matt was going to be in to do one or not, so I'd not planned on doing one. And then he was. So I set the stream up at the very last minute, so you won't have got a notification for this one. So that's nothing on your end. That's on my end. I apologize. Very last minute thing in there. Grandizer's in. Hope you are well, Grandizer as well. Yes, so Mike Houston gone from East Carolina, and then that quickly led to the second dismissal after week 8, and that may be a little less surprising, and it comes down at Southern Miss as Will Hall has been dismissed from his post there not long um, into his fourth season there. He had to deal with Southern Miss's move from the CUSA to the Sun Belt after year one. Initially, had a very positive first 7 and 6 season in the Sun Belt, kind of gave them cause for optimism that they'd be able to be competitive. But again, another team that also bottomed out. They had a 3 and 9 2023 season, and that has been followed by a 1 and 6 effort in 2024 with the solitary win coming over FCS team Southeastern Louisiana. And one of the biggest problems he's had there from day one, which he's just never been able to solve, which is odd because he was a college quarterback. He has been plagued by an inability to find a quarterback due to injury and bad play. So in 2021, he used 4 starting quarterbacks. In 2022, he used 4 starting quarterbacks. In 2023, just 2 starting quarterbacks. But then through 7 games this season, he's already used 3 starting quarterbacks, and this is a really big disappointment again for him as well, right? He's recruited very well there. He's brought an overall stability to the program. They've had to deal with the conference alignment move, but results have not followed, and that's ultimately what matters. And the very big thing here is he's just never been able to get a quarterback who is one good or two good and healthy. And that quarterbacks make or break programs, and he's just never been able to solve that issue.
Yeah, like I say, it's bigger than him, but ultimately you pay the price, don't you, for a team's failure. Whether that's the fact that, say, you've obviously got recruiting staff, you've got guys that try getting guys to come, trainers, athletic staff, medical staff. Yeah, he's taken plenty of swings. Most of them have missed. How much he will have to take on board of that for the actual quarterback himself probably seems harsh, but no, ultimately you cut the head off the top of the snake, don't you? And unfortunately, he's going to be the one that pays the price. On the flip side, is this an attractive team with an attractive roster if the head coach right now is failing? It's probably someone, it's going to be someone, like I say, that's going to be out there like a first-time head coach that wants a bit of a challenge. Because, yeah, you've got a lot to do here. You're going to have to bring some players with you. I expect this is going to be another school we've seen like James Madison, schools like that. You're going to go to JUCO, aren't you? You're going to go down to like players like that, the FCS, to try rebuild this roster. It's worked for some teams recently, like I said, because you're just not going to get the FBS talent to come here unless, like I said, they're just looking for playing time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough. It's a dog eat dog world, and if you can't get that one right, then you are going to have issues. And when you've got your running back playing quarterback for you for the best part of 2 seasons, you're just not going to be in a position to really break forward. So yeah, Will Hall is gone from Southern Miss as well.
I saw a resignment that was very interesting. The
We're talking
Utah OC.
Utah.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
stepped down.
So I was just about to quickly say before that with Southern Miss, the Patrick Surtain Senior, he's the DB's
He's been
coach
elite
at
for that job,
Florida
hasn't he?
State. He's former Southern Miss alumni, been heavily linked to that job, and with Florida State not exactly been an attractive program right now, that's a name you need to watch out for. Maybe
Bring some
Patrick
Seminoles with
Surtain.
him that want some playing time.
exactly. And take Rodemaker's there. I don't know how long he's got, and I don't know
We
if he's
saw
any
the
good.
Georgia
So
DC take the Syracuse job, and he took a lot of players with him, didn't he?
yeah,
So
and
you could see
Syracuse
the
look
same
good.
kind of thing. Yep.
So yeah, maybe for Southern Miss, if they can get Patrick Sertan Senior there,
They
and they
need a
want to
good
get some
coordinator, like
DBs.
say, that can lure some guys to come with him.
Exactly. So we will see with that. And then, yeah, the other one I want to mention. So there was a resignation this week, as Ryan quite rightly mentioned. The Utah offensive coordinator, Andy Ludwig, has
To say
resigned.
the offense in Big 12 play has been rank this year, but the quarterback room has been a complete mess as well.
I mean, yeah, exactly. So they're on the back of three straight losses. They've scored about 30
They've
points in
scored
those
23
three
points
losses.
once in Big 12 play this year, and then they've got
Yeah.
two blowout wins. So I suppose, do you think he's jumped before? Is he before he's pushed?
Maybe. I mean, it seems a shame because he's been at the Utes now for over 10 years
Yeah,
in
he's been
two
part of their
stints.
10-win season, so he's a long
Yeah.
time.
So he was the offensive coordinator when they won back-to-back Pac-12s in
Yeah,
21 and 22. So
big
this is a
loss
guy
for
who's
them.
had
I
a
imagine
ton of.
he's not gonna struggle either. Like I think I can see him being he might want to be a head coach
I mean,
somewhere.
you know, sometimes when you've been, is there any more he can do there? It would be the thing. You know, he's had great
Yeah,
success. Sometimes you just need a fresh voice. The
couldn't take
quarterback
any
room is not like say when Cam Rising's injured half the time and you're playing a
Bryson
freshman.
Barnes, a
Bryson
rookie Isaac
Barnes is
Wilson are not
terrible.
ready yet. He's not had a lot to
Yeah,
work with because he's
no.
also the QB coach, so he's done his best with them.
Yeah, exactly. So he's done an incredibly good job there. But I think he's done right. You know, I think you need a fresh voice in that room and you need a bit of a style, but you can't deny the job he's done there has been absolutely fantastic. And you're right, need to watch out for him as potentially a hire somewhere now as a head coach. You know, 10 years working in a very successful program under one of the better head coaches in college football in Cal Whittingham. I would expect to see him in a job there. So yeah, he is out there now. Andy Ludwig and Utah need a new offensive coordinator. We will see who that is. I believe they've promoted the tight ends coach for the rest of the year to keep them going. Other news, just very briefly, quickly, just let's check in on the top 25, because this thing's all over the place at the minute. But we have a new number 25 in there this week, Ryan, and they did it. They avoided the upset against Ball State, and I don't know when the last time they were ever ranked was, but the Vanderbilt Commodores are in the top 25 of college football at number 25, right behind the two service academies, Navy at 24, Army at 23. Um, then you've got the plucky 6-1 teams rounding out in the 20s, SMU at 22, Missouri at 21, Illinois at 20. This is the plucky underdogs column where we're at here, where some of these, if they carry on what they're doing, can shoot up into that playoff contention bone. And Brent asked in the chat, what are the odds of Army and Navy getting in the playoffs? Got to figure they're pretty good if one of them could knock off Notre Dame.
Yeah, yeah. If one of them gets a statement win against Notre Dame and goes unbeaten, they've got to have strong consideration. Like I said, do I think the committee will pick them? No. Would I think it'd be a massive injustice and a lot of people would get upset if they were unbeaten and one of them beat Notre Dame and they missed out? Absolutely. Like I said, I can see it happening and they just kind of get overlooked. And that would be for no for all of their own. That would go through the usual BS that happens behind the doors and the higher ups. But yeah, this group is very interesting because a lot of them have got a route to the playoffs. It's kind of there for them. Okay, not Vanderbilt, but they're having a great year and they deserve to be right. But Illinois, right, say very interesting. Like say SMU, like say potential, yeah, potential champion. Like say gets an automatic berth, or if not, goes unbeaten all season with one loss. Maybe as an outsider. Like say, they're going to certainly deserve a chance. Honestly, picking the group of five team to make the playoffs this year, or one or two, there will be no right answer.
We've
And whoever you pick, it will be a mistake to most people because someone will be upset.
You've got to figure the matchups this weekend. Like there's a big ass one coming up this
Yes.
weekend,
The
especially in
losers
the
this
Mountain
weekend will
West.
go a long way to kiss goodbye to
Yeah,
any playoff berth potentially.
the Mountain West is going to put forward a contender this week and a very strong one at that. Just moving up into this, getting into the top 20, Pittsburgh at number 19, still unbeaten. They're on a bye last week, so they sort of benefit from that. Old Miss are there at 18. They're the first of the two lost teams. Oh, they're two lost teams, sorry. Boise State at 17. Kansas State, damn them, at 16. Alabama all the way down at 15 there. And, teams like Bama and Ole Miss would have fancied, I mean, they'd fancy trying to make a 14 playoff, let alone trying to make a
Oh yeah,
12 team playoff. That is.
Ole Miss can kiss goodbye at the playoffs now. That's over.
Yeah, there's some big teams in here, and then you move up, and then you start coming to the crop of the really interesting ones. So, 14, you've got Texas A&M 6-1. 13, you've got Indiana at 7-0 on the year. Then you got Notre Dame at 12 on 6-1, and then the two unbeaten Big 12ers, BYU and Iowa State, both at 7-0.
They've got, I think,
Going up there
they're
like.
heading for a title game, aren't they? It feels like it. They're both kind of on a runaway train.
Like, if you're talking dark horses for the playoffs after 8 weeks in the season, Indiana, BYU, and Iowa State, I mean, they would have been high on my list, Iowa State were, but the other two, not a chance.
Yeah.
But there are,
BYU, BYU finds ways to win, and some of their football, God, it has been ugly. But it doesn't matter. Like I said, that some of their football, like I say, Retzlaff, he has had some absolute stinkers, and it does not matter. They find ways to score. They find ways to bail themselves out. And yeah, right now, yeah, they were predicted to finish very low in the Big 12, and they've
mm,
surprised everyone. Everyone's been put in front of them so far has struggled.
yeah, but these are the teams that are fighting on there. And then you went to the top 10. So at 9, you've got Clemson. At 8, you've got LSU. At 7, you've got Tennessee. They're all 6-1. You've got the Miami Hurricanes at 7-0 at number 6. And then your top 5, you've got Texas at 6-1, Ohio State at 5-1, Penn State, top 3 in the nation, 6-0. And then you've got Georgia at number 2, 6-1. And then what must be our 4th or 5th team at number 1 this year, the Oregon Ducky Ducks, sitting top of everything nice and pretty at 7-0 there, Ryan. This is maybe a surprise. I know a lot of people fancied them in the year, but they knocked off Ohio State just, and they continue to win games. And, this is very interesting. A lot of these teams, they lose one, they're out there, and there's just this little snapping pack behind them. All these teams at the top have got to be perfect now. Otherwise, their positions are in danger.
Yeah, it feels like we're getting closer and closer to no one finishing unbeaten. I'm looking at Oregon's schedule. I don't know. The next two games will determine. If they win their next two games, they're going unbeaten in
Mm.
regular season play. Tough matchup this week because they're going up against a very high-powered offense, and then next week they're going up against a very stingy defense. Yeah, they come overcome those. They shouldn't really face any problems. And like I say, yeah, or if you ask me right now, if I looked at recent fixtures, who's going to end the year as number one? Probably say the Ducks. Looking at their current schedule, they can, like I say, beat a good Ohio State, and then like I say, a banana skin, like the Boilermakers, but they absolutely crucified them on a Thursday night. Like I say, wasn't even a contest. They barely got out of third gear, and yeah, they put any qualms of an upset to bed very quickly, which best teams in the nation do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is interesting. I'm
Penn
excited.
State, I just failed to trust them.
So they've got not this weekend, but the week after, it's Ohio State, and that feels like
Look
the
who they've been
defining.
playing. Like, come
It,
on, it's nah.
See, I thought the USC win was good, but now that's starting
Now it
to
looks
look worse
bad.
and
Yeah,
worse.
UCLA are rotten.
It's starting to look worse and worse.
Kent State, Bowling Green. Oh my God, they have had a cupcake fest.
9 days is the defining fixture of James Franklin's tenure there. He has got to beat one of the top two. He has got to beat Ohio State or Michigan. Um, And this is the year to do it. If he can't do it this year, he's never going to do it again in his life. He's got a stingy ass defense. He's finally Drew Aller's looking good. He's got a good offense. Like he's got to go and do it. And I believe they're at home, if I'm right. So you have got to defeat Ohio State at home. So
Yeah,
that'll
they
be a
are.
big one for them. Otherwise, you're just as fraudulent as the rest of them. But yeah, Georgia only got 2 votes here, so it was overwhelmingly an Oregon first place there and Texas dropping down. But we'll keep checking in because it's going to end. I'll start putting up the playoff rankings soon as well, which will be fun. Always fun to get those going into the last few weeks of the year to see what's going on. But yeah, interesting, no doubt. A lot of dark horses still involved in this, so we will keep a very close eye on that. Right, let's move on down into week 8, the review. Let's head on in there. And as I say, the list of upsets this weekend is absolutely huge. But of course, we're going to start off with a couple of games to focus on first. And this is focusing on a couple of quarterbacks that we've really liked on here for a while now. And we were doing the preview show for the Vikings game on Saturday. We had to do it a later time in the week, and I had this game on whilst I was watching that. And Grandizer was very playfully poking at me every 5 seconds in the chat there as to what was going on. But the number 6 ranked Miami Hurricanes on the road to Louisville, one that they were expected to win. I think they were about 4.5-point favorites for this. And my oh my, what a show these two teams put on. So Louisville started this off with a 3-and-out and a punt, one of only 5 drives out of 22 that ended in a punt in this one, which kind of goes to show you what kind of game this was going to be. Miami responded with a very clunky 12-play, 34-yard drive that was derailed by successive offensive pass interference and false start penalties. The offensive pass interference wiped out Xavier Restrepo. Touchdown. It left the kicker Andre Borregales with a 55-yard kick, which he nailed dead center from the left hash with yards to spare. He's going to be an NFL kicker very soon, folks, to put Miami 3-0 up. Louisville's response is swift. Colin Lacey, the wide receiver, returned the kick 28 yards to Louisville 32. Tyler Shook had an 18-yard completion to Chris Bell before the true freshman running back Isaac Brown attached a rocket to his back from the 42. He headed towards the left sideline. He just burst his way through about 5 Miami defenders, past everyone in his way to the end zone, housed it from 42 yards out, 7-3 to Louisville. Miami responded in kind to this. Mark Fletcher led the ground game for them. He had 3 runs for 40 yards to set Miami up on the 27. And then Cam Ward, he is given the cleanest of pockets. He fires an absolute laser from the 32 all the way to the back left corner of the end zone where Jacoby George is waiting for the touchdown pass. It is an absolutely wonderful throw by Cam there. Sheer artistry. That puts Miami 10-7 up. Louisville then have to punt again. They take 4 minutes to go 17 yards. They go nowhere. They give it back. And Miami make them pay very quickly. So there's a quick 18-yard hit to Restrepo. Couple of Damian Martinez runs gets them going. And then Cam Ward with the most nonchalant pass you'll ever see in your life. He kind of just lofts it down the middle of the field over the middle linebacker to Samuel Brown, who has nothing but green field to run into. He houses it from 49 yards out. Miami take a 17-7 lead. Then the points keep on rolling in. Louisville respond with a lovely 9-play, 75-yard drive, spearheaded by a 26-yard run from Donald Chaney, the former Hurricane, and a 27-yard reception to Chris Bell, who powered down to the 2-yard line. Tyler Shook finishes it off with a 3-yard touchdown pass to Mark Redmond to make it 17-14 to Miami. Miami's momentum then falters. They have 5 minutes of hard sledding. That's erased after really big sacks from Jordan Guarad and Desmond Tell. But then Louisville make 2 monumental errors in the game. So they force a punt from Miami. They commit holding on the punt which backs them up to their own 3 yard line. And then on the very next play, Isaac Brown, the young true freshman, he gets wrapped up by Ruben Bain on the 1 yard line. He's left defenseless. Simeon Barrow, the defensive lineman, absolutely pile drives him. The ball pops out, drops into the end zone, and Raul Aguirre drops onto it for the defensive touchdown. So in 2 plays, Louisville screw themselves. It's 24-14 to Miami. Louisville then spend 3 minutes working their way back up to the Miami 26. But then Simeon Barrow, with another sack on a delayed blitz, forces them all the way back to the 34. It's a 52-yard field goal attempt from Brock Travelstead. Misses by a whisker, but another mistake from Louisville. It's only 137 left in the half at this rate, but Miami go 3 and out. They pass it twice. So they do give Louisville 57 seconds and 3 timeouts to get points. Louisville do put the skates on, and this big 26-yard run by Duke Watson threatens a touchdown before the end, but like literally 4 Miami players drag him down at the 5. They use their last timeout, and Travelstead hits the 22-yard field goal to make it 24-17 at the half to Miami. Now, this was the slow burning half in this one, right? But a lot of good plays in here, and in tight games like this, Louisville throughout this game just made the mistakes that Miami didn't, and there'll be some plays in that first half they look back on and they really want back.
Yeah. The Hurricanes, they're already that high powered. You can't give them encouragement. You can't give them those players that, like say, help them give them a head start. Because this team, when it gets ahead, it doesn't relinquish the lead. Like I say, it's one of those where it gets up going, it's got the next gear, and it can score heavily, it can score quickly. And if you're like, say, Louisville, and you're playing from behind for a lot of the game, you're going to run out of time eventually because they score too fast, too heavily, and they're too devastated. So in 3 weeks, they've conceded 34, 38, 42. They've conceded over 1,200 yards of total offense, and they've won all 3 games. Is that sustainable? No. Does it cause areas for concern? Absolutely. Their defense has been rinsed in basically all these last 3 games. Have they won them all? Yeah. Because, like I say, Cam Ward and his receivers, like I say, their offensive play caller and has managed to outduel anyone. I think someone looking at their schedule, they've still got some hard games remaining. You've got to feel like one team is going to be able to slow them down at some point, and that'll be a chance. But right now, no one has risen to the challenge because, like I say, Cam's had a very good, clean pocket. The offensive line is doing great stuff, and if you give him enough time in the pocket, like I say, he's going to deliver many strikes down the field. But yeah, Louisville, too many errors. Like I say, they were behind, and then they were playing catch up where they were having to like air it out, long, quick drives down the field, just always on the back foot. And that's not a way you need Miami. You need to get on them quickly. You need to get on top, and you also need to bring pressure to the quarterback. Someone's got to, like say, get in Cam's face because he's been too comfy for a lot of the year, and he's punished teams like that now. But yeah, very good, entertaining game. Hurricanes survive again, I suppose. You've still got to say that, like you say, they do. Like they're able to just hold off another team with an extra bit of offense that they can't find. I'd like to
Yeah.
see them win a bit more comfortably in coming weeks. Like I say, I imagine fans probably watched through gritted teeth and just watch for their fingers at times because they get a bit hairy these games. But yeah, Cam is proving why on a team built to win and built to win with him around him, that if the right team does draft him, like I said, whether they've got a starter in place now where he has to sit a year, that he'll probably be very productive as a pro quarterback. Like I say, in the right scheme, in the right style that plays to his strengths. And yeah, like I say, he's going to be a first round quarterback. I think by now everyone's accepted that. It's just going to be for his sake. He hopes the right team picks him and doesn't put him in a bad situation where he's
No.
running for his life all the time. So yeah, he's going to be very interesting to see. And then yeah, a couple of receivers like receiver Restrepo, receiving class this year is so-so, which probably works to Xavier's thing. Like I say, he could be quite a high-profile day 2 draft pick now. Like I say, he could be very productive straight into his rookie year. Like I say, he's going to be someone that a lot of players will be watching. So, yeah, a lot of talent. And they're doing a lot of this where Damian Martinez is yet to really take over a game this year because he's not needed to. because he can just kind of complement their offense.
They've got
Whereas at Oregon State, he was the offense.
they've
So
got so many weapons
they're
here.
working in tandem now, and they're humming, I'd say, and they're making the playoffs. Like I say, it doesn't matter whether they win or lose a championship game. You're not going to have college football's better when Miami's better, so you're going to have them in the playoffs. Whether Cam plays in the playoffs, that'll be another thing. Like I say, that he'll probably sit and talk down people with does he risk getting hurt? But the national stage will do wonders for him and his draft stock. So yeah.
They say this is a very resilient team. So they say 24-17 at the half. This thing just blows up in the second. So Miami come out, point to prove there. So Cam Ward completes a 3rd and 9 to Isaiah Horton. He gets a 3rd and 6 with his legs. Miami complete a 3rd and 6. The O-line literally rugby mauls Damian Martinez a full 21 yards down the field. It's such an impressive play, something the Lions would do. Ward finishes it off. He converts a 3rd and 6 to Xavier Restrepo. Really lovely high pass to the far side of the end zone. He's the only one who can get it. DB cannot get him there. The Canes crack Louisville on a 7-minute drive, 31-17 to Miami. Takes Louisville 7 seconds to respond. So Colin Lacey gets the kickoff. He breaks 3 diving tackles, burns past the 4th defender, picks up a downfield block, turns on the heaters, houses it for a 100-yard return touchdown, which was just tremendous. That brought it back down to 7 points. It was 31-24. Then the game turns on Miami quick. So Mark Fletcher gets nailed by Thor Griffith on the next drive. He punches the ball out. Jordan Guerrard recovers it, takes Louisville 3 plays to get it in the end zone from the Miami 26. Tyler Shook with a dart to Ja'Cory Brooks into double coverage, and he made it look easy. So they leveled it up to 31 all. Miami then got really brave. They converted a 4th and 1 on their own 34 after giving up a 2-touchdown lead. They went for it. Mark Fletcher gets it by millimeters, like literal millimeters. Cam Ward then turns into Superman. So with a defender practically hanging on his arm, he somehow launches a ball 40 yards downfield over a covering corner right into Xavier Restrepo's chest. He powers it all the way to the 1 for a 63-yard gain. And then Ward hits Isaiah Horton on the slant for the touchdown, makes it 38-31. Louisville then, they fight back. They appear to go 3 and out. Then they pull out the fake punt to the tight end, Dwayne Martin. He gets 14 to convert it. 13 plays and 3 penalties later, Shook finds Duke Watson on a screen. He runs it in from 4 yards out. That's about another 6-minute drive to level it up again. Miami, though, unfazed, they hit right back. Cam Ward finds Sam Brown for about 15. The defender grabs him, tries to throw him to the ground. But what he accidentally does is he throws him into the open field with no one there, with momentum. And Sam Brown takes it nearly 60 yards before he's chased out of bounds. And then A.J. Allen finishes the drive off with a 2-yard touchdown run to put it up 45-38. Louisville then have to punt with 10 minutes left. Tyler Shook has an intentional grounding call, puts them at 2nd and 32. They can't recover it. Miami then put together a back-breaking 6-minute drive to get down to the 4-minute mark. There's a massive sack from Benjamin Perry on there, puts Miami at 3rd and 17. Cam Ward completes it with his legs. He gets 20. The dude's just superhuman. And then the big talking point. So Ward's hit when throwing. The ball falls loose and Antonio Watts houses the fumble return over 60 yards. It's called a touchdown on the field. So, usually overturning them is tough, but it is overruled on review. So it's still kept at a 1-score game. And then to really rub salt into the wounds, Damian Martinez from 30 yards out gets through the narrowest of gaps in the line of scrimmage. He absolutely trucks the linebacker and he absolutely destroys this poor guy and carries about 3 Louisville defenders over the line into the end zone. He's not done much there this year, but this was so impressive. Made it 52-38 to Miami. Louisville didn't go down quietly. They had 4 minutes left, but it took them 3 minutes to get the score. Shook to Brooks again, made it 52-45. They can't get the onside kick. Game over. And then, as you said, Ryan, Miami find a way to survive. But Cameron Ward in this half, we said it in the game against Cal when he absolutely rescued them from a quagmire. Every time their defense gave up a touchdown or something, he just has an otherworldly play. He finds a way, and he's got to be quarterback one in this draft by this point now. From where he's come, from the FCS to Washington State, now to a Miami program, which is everyone's used to seeing fail and the expectation get too much of them. Every time a question's asked of this team, Cam Ward is the guy who answers it, and this game is no exception. He led them to this, got them over the line, and they say they look unbeatable at the moment just because of this offense alone.
Yeah, I suppose when you look at back, like say TJ Stroud, Bryce Young, could have taken them in any order. It feels like Shador Sanders and Cam Ward are going to be in the same scenario. Like say, there's a scenario where both of these probably go top five, and then you wait 5, 10 picks for Carson Beck, maybe. I can see that, say, Shador and Cam going very close together, both high in the draft. But yeah, I can see someone falling in love with Cam Ward and trading up into the top five to get him if they think he's going to slide. So he's going to have some serious movement, and he's going to change. I said that the team that gets him, he's probably getting quarterback ready to start straight away. It'll just be, do they need him to start straight away, or are they going to sit him for maybe a year? But it'll be hard to keep him off the field. It'd be hard for a team to pick him and tell him you're not going to play this year. I don't think he'd want that. I think he'd probably rather go to a team probably not built right now to win, but will let him play as a rookie.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, this just looks impressive. I mean, I say Cam Ward on the day for him, he had, when I can find it again, 21 of 32, 298 yards, 4 touchdowns, was only sacked 3 times. Xavier Restrepo continues to be awesome. 7 catches, 101 yards and a touchdown. Samuel Brown had 3 catches for 125 and a touchdown. Like this Miami offense continues to hum, and the defense needs plays that it makes too. Tyler Shook, though. Like there were signs up saying outside Heisman candidate. He's thrown for over 2,000 yards this year so far at 63%. He's got 18 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions. Like quietly also having a very good season without getting a lot of recognition. I know he's in his 7th season of college football and he's a super senior by now. He's had his injuries, but he's finishing off with a bang at Louisville and could still be in that combo at the end of the year.
I suppose he's one of those forgotten men. He's been around so long. And so was Louisville's season. Good season was last year. Like you say, they were really good this year. Yep, so he's gonna go out, like you say, with maybe his best statistical career. Suppose, like say, UDFA, a practice squad kind of guy, someone that you have on your 19, to try to make
Yes.
QB3 as a 53. So yeah, he'll like his chances, an experienced veteran.
It's already his best statistically. It's first time he's broke 2,000 yards. Previous
Yeah.
best was 1,600 at Oregon
Fortunately,
in 2020.
don't say a lot about him, does it really? He's
No.
been at some big schools as well. Like
Yeah.
you say, hasn't he been at Texas Tech,
Oregon, Texas
Oregon?
Tech.
Yeah, and he's kind of fizzled out, hasn't
Yeah, but this was an absolutely awesome game. And Cristobal, he seems to have found a way. Like he's got a lot of his big recruits are working. His two in the backfield are working well. Ruben Bain on the defensive line looks good. They get in the plays when they need them. So Miami need to be taken seriously. The threat now. Whatever Cam Ward's under center, he needs to be taken seriously. So well done, Miami. Absolutely fantastic win there for them. And then the other game I wanted to mention because this was an absolute this was one of my favorite games of the weekend, and it was really going to upset me at one point because I thought an unbeaten run was about to end. But Iowa State, Ryan, keep things going by the hairs of their chinny chin chin, and the legend that is Rocco Becht grows. And I don't call him the Becticle as a joke on here. He is, for a second year guy, something special at quarterback. And this didn't always go his way in this. I mean, this was a tough game for him. So UCF started off this one. Ja'Cory Brown, who looked really damn good at quarterback in this, started off with a rushing touchdown for UCF after just 3 minutes on the first drive. But Iowa State hit back with two touchdowns in the first quarter. Carson Hansen, his first run for 57 yards was absolutely fantastic. He's another who can just put nitrous on, and as soon as he's gone, you absolutely cannot catch him. His second was from a little shorter, from 5 yards out. And then RJ Harvey came into existence, and maybe RJ Harvey's the quickest of them all. 4 minutes into the second quarter, he just boosted out an 80-yard run. Iowa State were playing very high in this game. They were not playing the safeties high, which may be a mistake. They were bringing them all up to the line of scrimmage. He broke it off, leveled it up at 14 all. Rocco Becht then throws a pick six. Brandon Adams picks him off for a 63-yard return touchdown. So defensive touchdown for UCF puts them um, seven up. And then Ja'Cory Brown, the quarterback, rips off a 67-yard run at the start of the third quarter. They just did not do well defending the run in this one, Iowa State. He broke off through the interior of the line of scrimmage. He was just gone. Puts them two scores up. And Iowa State at home at this point, under an awful lot of pressure. Rocco Becht able to, marshal the next drive, gets them all the way down to the UCF one. He runs it in from a yard out. They're able to get a stop. Rocco Becht again, able with Jaden Higgins, couple of big receptions in this point here, finds his star receiver from 12 yards out for a touchdown to get them 1 point up. Rocco then throws another pick six. No, not a pick six. He throws another interception, which gets brought all the way back down to the one because the defender who picked it off was running into the end zone and he tossed it out the back of his hand before he crossed into the end zone. It's one of the weirdest, most stupid things you've ever seen in your life. Why players do that, I don't know, but he ran into the end zone, tossed it away, and the ball hadn't crossed the threshold. So they returned it to the one. RJ Harvey took it in from that 1 yard out to put Iowa State back down 8 points again. And at this point, UCF are just absolutely unloaded on Beck, time after time after time, pressure after pressure after pressure. With 9 minutes left, they get a field goal back to reduce it to 35-30. But then they're able to get the ball back right before the end of the game. He's got, what is it, 1 minute 40 left and no timeouts. He marshals his team all the way down the field. Again, they converted some really hairy situations. They converted a fourth down on there. There was a 3rd and 10 as well. They were able to get a pass interference call on that to be able to get to it. But Rocco Becht, he got the 1 yard run for the touchdown, which would inevitably win this game. And then Jontez Williams, the Iowa State cornerback, picked off Ja'Cory Brown to end this one. UCF had to really run this thing down. They had no time left to respond. It was picked off. Iowa State survive. And this is another team, right? They're undefeated. They are finding ways to win despite not playing well sometimes, despite being in a hole. They were 2 scores down at home to UCF, who love to run the football. RJ Harvey is an absolute menace who is just absolutely a tremendous football player and will be great in the NFL. And under the most amount of pressure possible, once again, Becht finds a way to win. This Iowa State team finds a way to win. The defense comes up with the stops it needs to. And they're another who, they're not winning sexy, but they're winning. And that's all that matters.
Yeah. Like I say, in the regular season, don't really matter how you win. You just got to win the games, whether you expect to win them or not. And it's a bit a fluid mixture of decent run days from like Sama, Carson Hansen, where Rocco Beck has good weeks with Higgins and Noel, or the defense turns up. It's been a very mixed bag. All the parts of everyone's played their part this year. At times, it's not been pretty. Like against Iowa, they weren't very good. Like say Caleb Johnson, the running back, absolutely gashed them, and they survived by the hairs of their chinny chin chin. Another week where they did look a bit vulnerable, but I suppose facing adversity, sometimes getting over the line is a sign of a good team. Do I think they can make the playoffs? Yeah. Would I expect them to do much in the playoffs against a bigger side? I think they would struggle, but I still think it'd be a fantastic achievement to make it there. I feel like making it would be the highlight and crown of Matt Campbell's reign, and it could be also the thing that probably ends his time there, because they might find it hard to keep all of him if they do lead them to the playoffs. But yeah, it's still a very young roster, a lot of talented players. Like I say, Higgins, Noel, guys to watch for the draft this year. If anyone's looking for like project day three receivers, I feel like they offer a lot. So yeah, but another win. The train just keeps rolling. Don't matter how they do. So yeah, they're still well on their way to a Big 12 title game as it stands.
Yeah, I do. I do. I just see resilience in this team. It's young. It fights hard. It never knows when it's beaten. They could have downed tools in this at one point. Just said, "Look, we'll get to that because if they're on a bye this week, we'll get to the bye. We'll reload. It's a bad defeat." Nope, they kept going. And say Beck for his stats was just he was terrible on this day in terms of throwing the football. He was 21 of 47, two touchdowns, two interceptions, basically both pick sixes as well. But he rushed for 111 yards and two touchdowns. He's not a rushing quarterback. Like the amount of times he was converting third and fourth downs under pressure, he just found a way to win. And that is the sign of a great quarterback when they can find ways to win when it's not their day. And now he's shown a bit of a dual threat ability. I keep mentioning his name, but you've got to listen out for him. Rocco Becht, he is the real deal there at Iowa State. And if they can go to the Big 12 title game this year, hopefully he shines on that stage. On the flip side of this, right? I mean, you were right to include RJ Harvey in your top 10 list. The dude just his ceiling,
The Knights
like,
only play well when he plays well.
I mean, how good's he going to be in the NFL when he gets there? Like, he will be an
Yeah.
NFL player.
A returner, a special teamer, a receiver, a running back. He's not going to be someone that has just one position, because he doesn't have one position right now. He's expected to do everything. He's the heart and soul of that offense. And he's going to be, a lot of people don't like the word gadget. He's going to be a gadget player. But that's not a bad thing in the NFL. You can make a lot of money being a Cordero Patterson or like a Braxton Barrios. Like say that gadget guy that you can just slot in. Someone, yeah, that's going to fall in love with him. Big workload. Like you say, can play multiple positions. He understands alignments. High IQ, which makes up for his small build. He's just a clever player. And like I say, he knows what to do. And the yak potential, they love it. They go wild for it, don't they, these days? So yeah, definitely a name to watch. Someone that's going to be very fun in an offense next year.
And the league seems to be softening on his type of build, don't they? Like
Yeah.
more of these smaller
Smaller
players
backs,
are,
Pacheco, guys
yeah,
like that, like say that's smaller. They
they're,
just don't borrow a lot of guys.
they're finding ways to scheme them and to get them working pro. And that's right. It doesn't matter if they're
Devon
small.
Chan. You can name a load of guys now, like running backs that are 5'8" and under. A couple of
Yeah,
years ago, that didn't happen.
that didn't fly. Now in this age of motion and getting out wide and stuff, like the quickest guy wins. Like I say, the new return rules. You want these guys in there, but RJ, you're right. You say when UCF play well, RJ Harvey has to play well.
Yeah, it's kind of come down to that.
60,
Like,
62 passing yards, 354 rushing yards. I think that backs up your assertion there that the running backs need to be playing well because Ja'Cory Brown is not a good throwing quarterback. I will say. KJ sat on the bench. He's a true freshman. I will give him that. They have benched KJ and they're playing a true freshman, and it upsets me.
that's
So
a bad, very bad sign for KJ
yeah,
Jefferson's
he's
hopes.
he's KJ's not going to be playing football much longer at this rate. I carry on hope for the guy, but I think I might have to admit defeat on this one. But yeah, two quarterbacks upsetting the odds there with Cameron Ward and Rocco Becht, and two teams continuing to have very big aspirations for this year. Right, let's move on into the rest of the upsets now. And we obviously have to start at the top here. There are a lot of teams that got upset this week, but there were two massive fixtures back to back in the SEC this week, and this was the later one. But we wondered, number one, Texas at the time, are they the juggernaut that we think they are? Can they knock off Georgia in their home and, sort of put to bed any lingering doubts about them? And They didn't. And the funny thing was, Georgia kind of pulled an Alabama on what Alabama did to them, Georgia did to Texas, in that they completely and utterly dominated the first half of this game. The first quarter was a very tight affair. Um, but it got down to the last 6 seconds, and Trevor Etienne broke this thing open with a 2-yard touchdown run to give Georgia the lead. And then they just broke out all over the place in the second quarter. They had a 33-yard field goal to start it off, then a 15-yard touchdown run from Trevor Etienne, and then two more field goals from 48 and 44 to end the half 23-0 up. Texas, like Quinn Ewers took a hit. He threw a pick. They brought in Arch Manning to end the second quarter because they were getting absolutely nothing with Quinn on the field. And like Alabama went in, sorry, like Georgia went in stupidly far behind Alabama at the half, they were never able to recover it. Texas, to their credit, did come out. They had two unanswered touchdowns in the third quarter. Isaiah Bond finally got in on the action. They brought back in Quinn Ewers to start the second half. 2-yard pass from him. Then he got the 2-point conversion as well. Jaden Blue had a 17-yard pass from Quinn Ewers as well, to bring it back to 23-15. But then Georgia finished this off. Trevor Etienne got a 1-yard touchdown run with 12 minutes to go, made it 30-15. There were no scores after that, but a lot of controversy in this one, right? Obviously, the home faithful didn't like what they were seeing. There was a particular play, and I guess we need to talk about it. They forced the refs to overturn a turnover call, which I've never seen in my life ever. They threw bottles onto the field. They were very angry. I think it was the correct call at the end to reverse what they did, but like the Texas faithful not happy. This was Georgia did to Texas what Alabama did to Georgia. They just went out and they stopped them from playing. They took the crowd away from this one. Georgia looked every bit as dominant as we've known them to be in the time they've racked up all these natties in the last few years. And Texas were Texas, let's just say.
Yeah, odd game. I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback play as badly as I have and still win fairly comfortably. Carson Beck
Oh,
was
they
useless.
were awful.
Carson Beck was absolutely useless. 380 yards, barely over 50%, 3 interceptions. Like you say, he was under pressure at times, but him and his receivers, they just look so off it. Like you say, it's where communication, balls underthrown, balls overthrown, the guy's seeing ghosts out there. And then on the flip side, it feels right now, whatever Texas does never feels right. Like you say, sometimes having two quarterbacks, like say, as talented and Manners and Ewing can be a great thing. Sometimes it's a headache. Like I say, it feels like now we're going to be seeing them both constantly as they're just trying to clamour for some sort of consistency on offense that right now it's just not there. And they're really struggling. Like I say, they found a presence for a run game through a couple of weeks ago. That's been patchy while they kind of go through this conveyor belt. And their defense, like I say, for Texas, that's actually has been really good at times this year. Like I say, just went missing. When it needed it most, it just wasn't there to be found. And this is one of those where are Georgia that good that their offense can play that bad and they win? Their defense was absolutely bad. How many explosive plays were there? Like you say, the sacks, the tackles for loss, like you say, quarterbacks the run game, Texas could get nothing going because they were just smothered. If you take away one of those triangles out of a fire, it goes out. And the Georgia defense was able to do that. And they saved Carson Beck's ass and the offense in general. Like I say, they did all the heavy lifting. And it was, yeah, a big upset. It shows just how wild and volatile the SEC is. And now you need to see the Georgia offense rebound, like I say, and show its worth, and like I say, also pull its weight. But you also see Texas, they need a response because if you'd have asked anyone before the game, a lot of people would have assumed Texas are going to win. Texas is the better program. Texas will win. But yeah, it just didn't pan out at all. And then, yeah, the whole how much influence played in overturning. It felt like it took an age, didn't it, to like really happen in real time, and it felt too long. It felt like there were other factors at play that determined in calling that decision. And you don't like to see that. You never want to see results like that or penalties, something like that, overshadow a game between two powerhouses. And that's kind of like the sour taste in your mouth you're left talking about.
So the big battle in this one, obviously coming into it, is the Texas Tackles versus the Georgia Ends. And only one group won this one. Jalen Walker, 7 pressures, 3 sacks, one quarterback hit, 3 pressures. And then Michael Williams, who I absolutely love, 2 sacks on the day for him, one quarterback hit, one forced fumble. Like they made Kelvin Banks and Cameron Williams look like first game true freshmen for the most part of this, especially in that first half. They kept turning the ball over, fumbles, getting short fields for the Georgia offense to allow Trevor Etienne to do the work instead of Carson Beck. And that Georgia D line, which is vaunted. I mean, hell, you just saw some of the best performances of their career from these guys out there, and that's where the mismatch was, and that's ultimately, I think, where this one came down to.
Yeah. Those like individual stand-up performances, if you can put a team on your back and just go out there and have, like, say, a monster day, you can be the guy that makes the difference. And it felt like he was the heart and soul. Like I say, if anything was going to happen anytime, like say that the ball was snapped, you felt like it was going to be him, and he had a big say in the impact on that day. And those stand-up performances, it's great anytime, but when all eyes are on you, all eyes on the nation are pointing at you, that's when you really want to have those best performances because it just does the world of good for you personally as well. When everyone's watching, the lights shine brightest. You go out there and you can handle the pressure. And when things aren't going well, you can stand up and be the guy that says, I'll take this game by the scruff of the neck. Yep. Like I say, that just can skyrocket you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, for Georgia, I don't know where this leaves the power scale now. Is Georgia better than Texas? You got to feel at the end of this. I don't know.
No,
Like,
I feel
they're
like
all
I know
beating one
less about
another.
both teams than I did before the game.
Yeah, which is odd, right? Because you look at this and you think, oh yeah, Georgia's obviously the better team, but it was just that defense was just so good, so damn good, and you're like, I don't know, I don't know what I'm seeing anymore. So, I mean, for Texas, the run game, this really came home to roost for them. They lost most of their age of running backs at the start of this year. Two of them. They've been relying on Jaden Blue, who's been doing very well, but they were not able to run the ball
Yeah.
well
When
in
plan
this
B and
game.
plan C fail,
And
what
yeah,
what do you have left?
when you're having to pass the ball a lot like Quinn Ewers was, then you're just letting that Georgia D line tee off on you, create
Yeah, because they know
turnovers.
you're dropping
It's
back, don't they? Like
yeah.
it plays into a team's hands if they know you can't run the ball because that defensive line just knows that it's going to have 2.5, 3 seconds. It's going to get home eventually.
Exactly. And even the best tackles, like say Kelvin Banks is one of the best tackles in college
Oh yeah,
football,
I've seen him.
period.
I think people think he's going in the
And
first round.
yeah, I think he could. He could go in the top 10, but this would be a game where people look at and go, right, there's concerns with him now, and you've got some stuff to it. It'll be good game tape for him, but this was not one of his better performances there. So Texas are taken down by Georgia, and the SEC is thrown wide open. But before this, there was another game in the SEC, a big one, and technically an upset it was because Alabama were favored in this. But Alabama for years now, right, have been going to Tennessee and seeing automatic victories. I think it was 15 in a row before they lost to the Hendon Hooker team season before last. This was just a one-sided rivalry completely. And then Tennessee beat them. Then Alabama got back to winning ways last year. But Kalen DeBoer and Alabama once again, something just does not look right with them. They were 4-point favorites for this, but they end up going down 24 to 17 to the Vols, and they just continue to struggle. Oh, this was not a pretty game. This was one for the
Neither of them
sickos.
were great.
enthusiasts, yeah, like me, there were 17 tackles for loss in this game, 10 from Tennessee, 4 passing, 6 rushing, 7 from Alabama. There were 6 sacks altogether, 2 interceptions on both sides. Alabama forced a fumble as well. They won the turnover battle in this by 5 points, but they were just not able to see this one out. Tennessee were given the opportunity to win. So Alabama start this off. Ryan Williams continues his absolutely stunning year. He got another touchdown at the start of the second quarter. Then Tennessee had to wait till the second half. This was only 7-0 at the half. It was a damn poor first half. It was just defenses on top. No offense could get anything going whatsoever. Tennessee came up with their backs up. Dylan Sampson, star running back there, he had a run from 2 yards out to even things up. Bama kicked a field goal in response. Graham Nicholson from 35 yards out. I think they said it was only his fourth attempt of the year. He'd only kicked 2 field goals all season before this game, which is crazy. He missed his first one in this, and then he got this one, but he's not kicking much this year. It's putting 10-7 up. Dylan Sampson again with another touchdown just from 3 yards out this time to put Tennessee back in front. Alabama take the lead at the start of the fourth quarter. Justice Haynes, they were not running the ball well, but he got a 7-yard run in for a touchdown there. But then Tennessee worked their way back into this, and Nico Iamaleava, who had an absolutely awful game for the most part of this, he eventually managed to get one to land to Chris Brazzell the second from 16 yards for a touchdown with just under 6 minutes to go. And Alabama just kept turning the ball over in response, couldn't get there. Tennessee got a field goal with 1 minute 30 left. Alabama did have the chance to drive to save this, but Jalen Milroe got picked off by Will Brooks with a minute and a half to go, and Tennessee were able to kneel this one out, and it was ugly. Let's say we used to Tennessee scoring a lot of points. We used to Bama scoring a lot of points. But this was a low-scoring thriller, especially in that first half. Just defenses on top all over the place. Pass rush doing well. James Pierce having one of his best games of a very quiet season by his standards for Tennessee. And Tennessee win ugly, which I guess is a good sign for them because people don't associate them with winning ugly a lot. They associate them with blowouts, but they won ugly against South Carolina. They've now won ugly against Tennessee. It's the rivalry win. That vaults them right back into the scene for the playoffs at the top end, right?
Yeah. This was not the game I expected. I was expecting 30-40, 35-40. But you're right in the sense that neither quarterback showed up. Neither quarterback really came out of the game with much credibility. Like I say, another all-defensive tussle. We saw some future stars, though. Honestly, this was if you like defensive football and you want to watch the draft next year, you probably got well acquainted to some of these guys because there's some absolute gems on this team. But yeah, Dylan Sampson, like I say, we mentioned him. Like I say, collectively, I say honorable mention top 10. That he's had when the passing offense this year has struggled, he has managed to find a way to like take the scruff of the neck and take the pressure off a young man like Nico. Great game. Like I say, he was the real beacon of hope, like I say, for the Vols this week. He was able to move the chains, like I say, consistently. Like I say, get the hard yards, keep the drives going, keep them turning over. And then the red zone, yeah, helped them out there. On the flip side, I don't know. Is there a player I'm more disappointed in the country with right now than Jalen Milroe? I don't think there is. Honestly, I thought he was going to take the Heisman by the scruff of the neck this year. He's already got as many interceptions now as he did of all of last year. He's not protecting the ball. Like I say, he's only where is he? Like I say, he's not even that high in the passing rankings. Like I say, he's like top 20, top 25. Like you say, so he's not moving the ball consistently. He don't seem to be on the page sometimes with his receivers. Like I said, the offensive line, there's been injuries. Like I said, they've had to get some new blood in, but it's some of the premier crop talent in the country. They've never had in the line there, but yeah, he's struggling with decision making. And yeah, another one that kind of just kicks the barn door wide open. Vols thrusted back into a potential playoff team. Like I said, are the best team in the country? No, but it automatically makes you consider them as an SEC title game contender again, just because they find a way to win, which is the most important thing.
Yeah.
It's it's the dynamic has shifted now. Like I say, there are no favorites.
Yeah.
There is
I
no one that's like say that's the head and shoulders above everyone. Everyone I've seen frailties and insecurities from, and that's the best way to be though.
yeah.
That makes it more interesting. Like I say, now I couldn't tell you which two teams will make the title game.
No, like for Tennessee, they've got a good balance. They've got a good running back. They've got a good quarterback. And in fairness to him, he came back. He took a massive hit in this game. He came out for one play. The backup came in and played one snap and tossed an interception. And they're like, "Screw it, we're putting him back in again." But he actually played better ball after after he went out hurt. So
Yeah.
he showed himself to be.
I mean,
But you
like
mentioned, sorry,
uh,
go on.
look at since like US game, look at LSU, how quietly they've gone about their work in recent weeks. They have rattled
Yeah.
off consistent wins. They have thrust themselves straight back into the title race. Honestly, a couple of weeks ago, Brian Kelly, everyone wanted him fired because he's a clown. The guy is doing, yeah, he is resurrecting. Yeah, the SEC right now is fantastic. This is what I've always wanted.
I found this because SEC, the one versus two seed in the SEC play each other this weekend. Do you know who it is?
Yeah,
It's Texas A&M and LSU.
yeah. I say
They
A&M.
are ranked one.
A&M ain't pretty, is it? But it's
No,
effective.
it ain't pretty, but Texas A&M and LSU are ranked 1 and 2 in the SEC right now, and they face off this weekend. So one of them is going to punch potentially a ticket to the championship or go a big length of the way here. But you mentioned the Bama defense, and we love Bama safeties, and you look at the reason Iamaleava was no good in this. So Keon Sabb, Malachi Moore, and Bray Hubbard, the three safeties for Alabama, targeted 5 times in this game, gave up 2 receptions for 7 yards, and just absolute monsters in that game. They've rebounded like no one took. Everyone thought this was like sort of about the D line and that, but Bama's DBU and no one talks about it. They lost Caleb Downs this year, and now they seem to have replaced him. And the three safety tandem in this looked immense. And again, probably going to get a lot of NFL looks, especially Keon Sabb. Like he looks amazing. And there's Malachi Moore. He has the star name there, but Bama have a holy trinity back there at safety.
Yeah, and then yeah, it's the fact that they get the best freshmen, and then they're also able to get the best impact players. Like I say, you've got to look at a guy that sure is raw right now, like Jalen Mbakwe. He's not ready right now. He's a freshman getting playing time. Give it a year or two, he might grow into the game. Like you say, right now they're putting him out there. Like you say, he's holding his own at times, but then you also look at him and think, yeah, he looks like a freshman. But I say he's just the next crop, just getting blooded in. Like I say, it's
He
a
got a pick in this one, didn't he? He picked
yeah,
off the backup. He picked off the backup quarterback. It was a good
yeah.
pick as well. But yeah, these Bama DBs, obviously Brian Branch is looking like the best player in the NFL right now. So, there's some definite love out there for these guys. They look really good. So Bama again, do you reckon are they done now for the playoffs? They're at
I
15th.
think they're gonna struggle to make the playoffs, yeah.
What a shock that'd be for DeBoer to not make a 12-team
And to
playoffs.
not make a 12 team, like you say, you look at it, you look at the schedule, like you say, Missouri this week, but like I say LSU, it's that LSU game. If they lose
Mm,
the LSU game, it's over. They've got to
mm.
win out now. And even then, will that be enough? Should they be there? Probably shouldn't be there. Will they make it? Most likely. It's Alabama.
Yeah, like it would just be so them to put a two-loss Alabama in over an unbeaten
But
Army
yeah,
with a win
we'll
over
see. Yeah,
Notre
we'll see
Dame.
what LSU's title credentials are on the 9th of November.
Yeah, absolutely. And they should have nothing to fear at this moment in time. For Bama, everything's a must win now. Everything is we cannot afford any other slip, and you've got to start handing out some beatings as well to some good teams to convince them that you're going to be worth anything. One team who's definitely not making the playoffs this year, which may be a shock because they won the whole damn thing last year. But how bad do Michigan continue to look? They were on the road to the Illinois Fighting Illini this week. We had them in the pick watch, and our reasoning for picking Michigan in this was, are Illinois ready? Like, Illinois have been devoid of that big win over the years where like, we're part of this, and maybe a win over
Yeah, I feel
Michigan now
silly now.
doesn't have maybe a win over Michigan doesn't have the same prestige it does as 12 months ago. But for an Illinois program and quote Ryan with the best looking uniforms in all of college football. No, I'm joking, he hates them.
That helmet.
I Illinois went in and won this game on the ground. They only had 80 passing yards through the air. Luke Altmaier had a very quiet game by his standards, but this came down to the running backs Aiden Lowry, Josh McCray, Altmaier
The defense as
himself,
well, yeah.
and their defense. The Illinois defense was tremendous. Michigan continued to struggle at quarterback. Tuttle, 20 of 32 for 171 yards, no touchdowns, one interception. They're only,
By Michigan QB standards, that wasn't a bad performance, but it also wasn't good.
yeah.
It might have been the best bad performance of the season, which probably means, I suppose, this weekend you've got to stick with Tuttle because he's the only one that showed he can actually move the ball down the field.
Yeah.
It feels like you have
Um,
to, don't you?
it does. But I know the rumblings. Everyone wants Jaden Davis to start right now for Michigan, and there's this whole
It
thing
doesn't help
about
Sharon Moore as well. He doesn't help himself, does he? You've seen like some of the
no.
interviews. He's very defensive and he gets his
It's
back up awfully badly.
and it's rivalry week this week, and he's not committed to a quarterback. Like this is rivalry week. You should know. You can't go into rivalry week not knowing who your quarterback is, especially when your little brother just pulled off a big upset of their own this week. But you know, this was tough. Khalil Mullings with the only touchdown for Michigan in this. Most of the points were scored in the first half. It was 13-7 at the half to Illinois. They came out and scored quickly in the third quarter. Altmaier had a 1 yard touchdown run. Zachary Franklin got the 2 point conversion. They brought in the backup quarterback for the 2 point conversion, which I liked. To put themselves 21-7 up. And that was it. No more points scored. This was just an attritional game of turning the ball over, turnover on downs. I mean, the drive chart for the second half here. So Michigan start off with a punt, then Illinois get the touchdown. Then it's missed field goal for Michigan, punt for Illinois, interception for Michigan, punt for Illinois, turnover on downs for Michigan, punt for Illinois, end of game. Because Michigan run out of time to do anything. I mean, that shows you what kind of game it was, right? Illinois kind of just started running the ball and burning clock because they knew damn well that when they punted and they put Michigan back, Michigan were just not going to do anything to them and just kept turning the ball right back over. At the end, it was very tough to watch the second half of this one, but the Illini did what they had to. They got a big enough lead and then they sat on it and said, that's a day. And that is a huge win for them now, sat at 6-1.
Yeah, huge win. Like you say, it was. We knew they were good enough to beat Illinois. It's the fact could they get past in their own heads what they think Michigan are. Like I say, they will have thought of them as a bigger threat than they were. Because when that 21st point went in, everyone knew that's game over. Michigan ain't got the juice to come back from that. They've shown nothing all game. Mentally, like I say, Michigan players, some of them have checked out. They don't look there. Coaching wise, there's already talks of is Sharon Moore the guy? Is he accountable enough? Is he the man to take them forward? I don't think he's long for the job. Like I said, I feel like they're going to bite the bullet and pull the plug on him quickly. I don't know how soon, but it feels like the rug is going to get pulled from him very quickly. Yeah, it's fantastic win for Illinois. They didn't play their best football. Like I say, it was messy, it was ugly, it was gritty, but that's a great win for them. Yeah, and that was one of the last. Well, other than this week, that was one of the big hurdles left on their schedule. And like I
Mhm.
say, right now, if the season ended today, would you put Illinois in the playoffs? Might do, yeah. You genuinely could make a case to put them in. And right now, like I say, the Big Ten right there, it's absolutely stacked, but they are there in the thick of it. And after 7 weeks, would I have said that start of the season? Would I have had them with Penn State and Oregon? Not a chance. Not a nilly would I have put them anywhere near there. But yeah, they are proving me wrong, everyone wrong, and they're just having a great year. And it's a chance, it could be a fairy tale year.
Yeah, absolutely. Like sky's the limit for them now. They've got this win. It's got them legitimacy, and they're building it on the back of their because the defense was like when they had that insanely good secondary draft class a couple of years ago with Kirby in there. Like they'd lost a bit of juice last year. They lost a lot of bit of that defense. They seem to have got it back now. That defensive line just killed Michigan. Gabe Jacobs, the edge, 3 sacks and 7 pressures on the day. The nose tackle Terra Edwards, who I'm really beginning to like. He's my new favorite nose tackle in the Big Ten. 2 sacks on the day for him. Dennis Briggs Jr., the other end, he had a sack there as well. And then you combine it with a really good secondary, which only gave up 20 catches on 31 targets on the day, most of them behind the line, not deep shot down the field stuff. You're going to give up easy ones, but you don't give up many yards in this. That Illinois defense looks back to how we know and love it. And with Altmaier, who's a serviceable quarterback, and Pat Bryant, who looks absolutely amazing, he had a touchdown in this. Love that for him. They might just have enough there, right? And again, some talented players to watch for the draft.
Yeah, I think they've got a coaching staff, which is the biggest thing that you trust with your life. Very likable. They're doing great jobs. They're finding guys, like say, that have it's not clicked. Like say, Altmaier it didn't click up somewhere else, but here they've managed to build a scheme around him where he's able to show off his talents. He's doing really well. And yeah, if I had to guess, will they make the Big 12, Big 10 title game? I think they will. Yeah, I think they've put a team together that is capable of being a champion and, like I say, having a slot, having a chance, just being in the hat, the draw on after the final week of the season to be in playoff contention. If you'd have told them at the start of the year, they probably would have been absolutely biting your hand off. And if they do get to Big Ten title game, or if they do make the playoffs, then you've got a coach of the year candidate, no, hands down.
Absolutely. You've got one there, but the Big Ten has a couple of potential candidates for Coach of the Year, and one of them comes with Michigan's little brother, like Michigan State going completely under the radar this year. I mean, I know they've not got as many of the wins to show for it, but they also caused their own big upset this week. They were at home to Iowa. Iowa was 7-point favorites for this, and in previous years they've struggled to deal with the physicality of teams like Iowa. Iowa have run over them, and with rightly so. They've really struggled in these games. But for the first time in what feels like forever, this Michigan State team is starting to come together. Right, they've got a very young quarterback who's only playing his first football. Really, he's making a lot of mistakes that rooks do and guys who haven't played much football do. But as he starts to acclimate himself, he looks better. His rushing attack is really good. Like he's a dual threat. They've got a dual threat backfield. They got K'Ron Lynch Adams and Nate Carter, who are both running the ball well. They've got legitimate threats. Nick Marsh, the freshman receiver, another one of this crop of freshmen who are just absolutely destroying college football this year. Montori Foster had 100 yards there as well. But then it's their defense as well, which kept Caleb Johnson, the star running back. I mean, in fairness, he had 14 carries for 98 yards at 7 yards per carry, but they picked off Cade. They were able to stop drives when they needed to. They were able to get turnovers on downs when they needed to. This Michigan State team is looking a little feisty, and it's got the biggest reason of all to be feisty this week, and it's going to be looking to cause an upset, maybe. I don't know if it is an upset, but Michigan State very good against Iowa, and Iowa exposed for being maybe the one-dimensional team they are, and Michigan State able to take advantage of it finally because they've got a good team of their own.
Yeah, they started the season quite lethargic, quite slow, with a lot of new faces, a lot of young players, new coach staff. And yeah, like I said, Boston College laid an egg. Like I say, they whiffed Ohio State and Oregon. But this is a big win for them because Oregon, like I say, Iowa coming to town, it's never easy. Like I say, look at all the problems they gave Iowa State and all the other teams they've played there. And we know that, like I say, K is not great, but they've got one of the best running backs in the country. And they didn't stop him, but they did more than enough to slow him down, which is really what you need to do. You contain him. You don't give up any big plays to him. Don't let him, like say, have any massive runs that break off. You just let him chip away. You keep him contained, and then you kind of have to force them into passing scenarios where they don't want to be, and they're still not comfortable being there. And that is where you prey on them. And yeah, Adrian Chiles, huge portal pickup. He's shown flashes. He's shown some naivety. He's had some games which all come together. He started to build a bit of a repertoire of, like I say, there's Nick Marsh, this other 17-year-old stud receiver that, like I say, they're going to be really hard to keep all this kid. But while he's here right now, he's showing that the potential greatness that he's got. Yeah, and their offense potentially loaded. Like I said, there's just loads of talent on here. There's a lot of young guys on both sides of the ball, and I would now want to see them finish the season really strongly. Like I said, if they do that next year, I'll be really high on them going into next year, and I'll have some expectations for them. Right now, I just want to see them keep gelling, keep clicking, and just pick off a couple of wins between now and the end of the year, and then they can go into next year where a lot of these guys are sophomores, redshirt sophomores, junior, with a lot more momentum behind them. But yeah, it wouldn't be a huge upset, would it? If the Wolverines lost, I don't think it'd be a huge upset.
I mean, I think for Michigan State it will be a big deal.
It'd be a
I
big deal
think
to
that
yeah, it's
is
a big deal to the Spartans. Like I said, the Wolverines will be like, we thought you were gonna win. Like I say, this is
yeah.
nothing to us. Like I say, but I'd expect, like I say, if the Spartans win, give the Wolverines fans shit, give them hell. Like, don't let them downplay this loss, which they will do, because they're like, oh, you didn't get the best version of us. I can already see the excuses lining up. Oh, we don't have a quarterback. Go out there and beat them soundly and don't let them do it.
Sharon Moore can't afford a loss to little brother.
No,
Like
this won't go
if
down
his
well.
is hot, well, maybe it's not hot, but
Yeah.
if his
But
seat
people will
is
be calling for his head
yeah,
already if they go out there and they lay a stinker this weekend.
exactly. I mean, I'm looking forward to this. Because I know they've had injuries. I know Will Johnson went off injured. I really hope Will Johnson. I want to see Nick Marsh versus Will Johnson. I want to see just how good this true freshman really thinks he is. Because they'll line him up against him and they'll see what he can get. Like that could be a really great battle. But 40 minutes of possession in this game for Michigan State, and that's one other thing they've struggled with over the years is keeping the ball. So they're learning how to hold on to the ball, have long drives, keep maybe more talented opposition on the sideline and rack up the points themselves, and that's how you win games as an underdog team. You keep the ball, and they certainly did that. So well done to Michigan State there. It's going not even begun to dive down into these yet, but one of your favorite teams to talk about, right? Because we seem to talk about them every week. 7-point favorites at home. Texas Tech, the Red Raiders at home to Baylor, 7-point favorites. Baylor dropped 60 on them well, it was 59, but let's just say 60
I
for
did
the
say that they are
purposes
the most, like
of
say, they are crazy at Texas Tech.
this was I
They are
mean,
bipolar.
what a Baylor! Yeah, Baylor are bipolar. They're 3-4, and they beat a 5-1 Texas Tech team on the road and dropped 60 points on them. Sawyer Robertson having the game of a lifetime at quarterback for them, 21 of 32,
Isn't he a
274
freshman as well?
yards. I believe so. Yes, 5 touchdown passes, three of them to Josh Cameron. Bryson Washington, their running back, he had 116 yards, two touchdowns, going at 12 yards per carry. DeQuan Finn saw some action as a running back for Baylor as well. For Texas Tech, Merritt Morton, his numbers don't look bad. Like he's 33 of 49 for 286 yards, three touchdowns and a pick. Taj Brooks, I mean, disappointing by his standards, 25 carries, 125 yards, 5 yards a carry, and a touchdown. It's no skin off his back, but
It's the defense in it. Not a single sack.
yeah, nothing. They threw a pick, they lost a fumble, and they turned over, and no sacks. That's what it is. Sacks make prizes. They get you behind the line, they get you behind the chains, they get drives stopped. And it's 450 yards of offense. It's not the offense. They had 10 more minutes of possession than Baylor as well. Baylor put up 59 points on them in 24 minutes. That's concerning. That shows you do have a bad defense.
I just looked who Texas Tech are playing this weekend. Oh, that's going to be chaos of the highest order.
Oh God, who've they got this weekend?
The Horned Frogs. You've
Oh
got two of the
Lord.
most bipolar teams in the country. You've got Barry Morton against Josh Hoover, two of the best quarterbacks in the country on the day, and also two of the worst. This could be easily 100 points.
Yeah,
Both defenses are rotten.
yeah. And there could be about 10 picks in that as well.
Yeah.
Like that
Quarterbacks here are fast and they are loose with the ball.
DBs are gonna make a name for themselves in this one. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know about the Big 12. There's just that little part of the Big 12 which like it's like the Bermuda Triangle. You sail in there and everything starts defying logic and flipping upside down all over the place. You don't know what you're gonna get. I just don't like looking at Texas Tech and Baylor anymore as like a betting thing because who knows? Who the hell knows? Other upsets. I should have actually stayed in the Big Ten because there was another upset this week. Or maybe is it an upset? USC 7-point road favorites against Maryland, a Maryland team who are not very good this year, and they gave up what was it a 20? They gave up a big lead in this one. They were 21-7
21
up,
points.
and
Yeah.
then they were 28-14 up in this one. And Maryland, who have been very poor for the most part, come back and beat them 29-28. And Billy Edwards Jr., the Maryland quarterback, fair play to him. He had to throw 51 times in this game, completed 39 passes for 350 yards and two touchdowns. He threw a pick in there as well. He had a rushing touchdown on the day. But Maryland, very much a one-dimensional team in this, just 80 rushing yards. But so were USC, just 90 rushing yards for them with Jaquavius Marks. This went on to Miller Moss. Miller Moss, 34 of 50. That's 101 combined passing attempts for the quarterbacks in this. 328 yards, three touchdowns, an interception. Um, and once again, you have to ask the question,
Feels like the
why
days are numbered for certain USC head coach, don't they? He's on
why
borrowed
is
time.
my question is why was Lincoln Riley ever high like he was put over as one of the elite head coach talents in college football. He's never won a conference. He never won anything with Oklahoma despite having 5 stars all the time. He never won the Pac-12 when Utah won it with technically not as good recruits and not as good at teams. Washington won it like all these other teams were, they never even made the title game. And now they've come over to the Big Ten and they don't like Big Ten football. They've lost to Maryland. They've lost to Minnesota. And I'm sorry, I think it's mile marker, the Minnesota fan. That Minnesota win over USC now is suddenly not looking as good as it once was. That was a big deal at the time, but if Maryland can take them down, because he's on a hot seat at Maryland, I mean, I don't know if Maryland fans will have wanted to win this because that's probably going to give him another season there now. He'll go, look, I've got this big statement win. And they'll be like, oh, no, actually, we don't want this to go on. But it was a fascinating game. Two quarterbacks asked to throw it 101 times. So very much an aerial battle with very little run game and Maryland sneak out on top. But he's got. How long can it continue? This is just, he is not getting the results, and he has had a fortune spent on him at USC, and he can't even beat mid-tier Big Ten teams.
He's gone. It's his last year. He's getting fired.
Do you
It'd be
reckon?
funny if they went. It'd be funny if they went and hired his brother, who's a far superior coach, Garrett Riley, one of the best young offensive coordinators in the entire country. He's the Clemson OC right now. And like you say, he's coaching out of his skin. But no one talks about Garrett Riley, do they? Even though he, like you say, he took TCU to a national title game. But why does everyone love Lincoln Riley? He ain't got
Yeah.
half the accolades that Garrett's got. He's had
No.
top 15 offenses at TCU. Like I say, right now, Clemson firing on full cylinders. SMU, like I say, upstate. Like I say, he's absolutely exploded.
Yeah. It's I don't know. Like Lincoln Riley, just USC have just been they've been the biggest disappointment maybe in college football this year. One of. You look at Oregon, unbeaten, potentially going number one seed into the playoffs, like they've not had any problems. Why are USC having problems? They had Penn State come to their house and rally from a massive deficit, and now they've had Maryland rally from a massive deficit. Is it the lack of a run game? like if you're so far ahead and you can't run the ball, you can't run clock out, you keep giving the opposition chances, and your
Feels like
secondary
scheme,
just
doesn't it?
isn't that
They
good.
went and brought a running back in, doesn't it? It just feels it's a scheme. It's got to be an
Yeah,
offensive coordinator thing.
like he's a good running back, Jaquavius Marks, like a
Yep,
really good running back.
he's perfectly capable of being above average and helping you win, but lack of carries, lack of diversity in offensive schemes. I think there's a lot of coaching issues.
Yeah, and for the first time ever, it's not the defense that's the problem. Or it doesn't feel like it's the defense that's the problem there. It feels like
Yeah.
he's
He
got a
was great
decent
against
defense.
Michigan.
Yeah, he feels like he's got a decent defense for once in his career. It's the first time Lincoln Riley's ever had a good defense. And it's the first year that his offense has looked poor. I mean, you've been there on the Miller Moss scale. Has that gone up or down this week? That kind of feels like it's just going down
It's
gently.
it's firmly
And
stagnated, and he's just like say feels like one of those EKGs where like say it goes up and then it goes straight for a long time. We're right there. It'll go up again in a couple of weeks. He'll have a great performance. But yeah, all those people that saw that bowl game last year were like, "We're back, Miller Moss. It's Miller Moss time." Honestly, has anyone seen a performance this year that's convinced you that he is the man to lead the Trojans to glory?
no,
Doesn't seem like a bad kid. Seems like a good quarterback, but nah, he is
he's
not the shoes that would need filling. He just don't know if he's capable of it.
he's embroiled in he's embroiled in a battle beyond his pay grade. I think this goes up to coaching. Like they're not been put in a like Jaquavius Mark's very good. He's not been put in a position to succeed.
Look
None
at
of them
Zachariah
are.
Branch though. Like this year, how quiet has he felt?
Yeah,
And he's supposed to be one of the best, like say, weapons returner receiver in the country. Like say, it feels like he's underwhelmed all year.
yeah. It doesn't seem to be a talent issue. It's definitely a coaching issue, and it just feels kind of like maybe the ride is over for them. Someone whose ride might not just be over yet, and I pretty sure. I don't know. You got this one right in the pit watch. SEC that has turmoil in there as well, and Florida absolutely whammied Kentucky. We talk about stock of quarterbacks been up and down. I imagine Vandergriff's is going woo. That's like a slip and slide. That couldn't go down any faster there, but the Florida youth movement is underway. Maybe it's a good thing. Graham Mertz is out at quarterback now. DJ Lagway is in. Now, he went 7 of 14 for 248 yards. I mean, maybe not an indictment there of what he can do. He had 8 carries for 57 yards, but another freshman, Jaden Bow, the running back, true freshman, I believe, 21 carries, 97 yards, 5 touchdowns, a defining game for the young man there. And maybe it's too late for Napier, but the youth movement and then giving these guys the opportunities, it at least paid dividends for them this week. Elijah Badger, who had 3 catches for 148 yards, who averages 50 yards per catch in a game over 3 catches, like crazy. Um, but the youth movement won out here, and Kentucky, we got back Kentucky this week, or I did, because I bet on them to win this, and they didn't. So,
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, with no disrespect to Graham Mertz, a season-ending injury may not be the worst thing that's ever happened to the Gators. DJ Lagway, yeah, we've seen him in relief. We've seen a start. We've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. But the only way you're going to get consistent good is if he's the guy now. And he's the guy for the rest of the year. He's the guy, well, yeah, he's the guy next season. He's hopefully going to be the guy for the next 3 years. And they're hoping that he's going to be the next big thing since Tim Tebow. That's how people want to look at him, don't they? Is he going to be the next savior of the franchise? And the only way you're going to learn that is through a lot of growing pains, which we've seen, a lot of chaos turnovers. But then you see why people think he's like the next big thing.
mm,
And yeah, there's flashes there. Like I say, there's talent around him. Not just talent, but like I say, it's young. If they can build a nucleus and somehow keep it together for the next 2, 3 years and they can all grow together and play together, then they could be on something. Yeah. Is Billy Napier going to be the man to take them forward? Probably not, no. But will they leave behind a legacy of players that hopefully can achieve something? Won't be this year. Might not be next year. 2026, maybe. Maybe he can be the guy that says, I started the ball rolling. Or he'll try to take credit for it somehow. But yeah, I'm excited to watch Florida next year.
Yeah, if they can keep these young guys and, not get picked off, because I mean, the firing's got to be coming, right? There's no way he survives this unless he goes wins out this season. It feels, I don't know. It's got to come, right?
You've not seen enough for him to keep his job, but then do you want to go through the hassle of finding another coach? I don't know.
Yeah,
They're going to weigh it up out there. The cost of getting rid of him against going to find a replacement, like I said, they may just give him another year.
yeah,
And like I
absolutely.
say, yeah, they can on the other side, Kentucky, yeah, the Brock Vandegrift experiment, which I was so high on, unfortunately has fallen flat on its face.
Yeah.
And yeah, they look like they're a bottom feeder in the SEC right now, aren't they? They have lost so much ground with the teams that have come in and everything. Like I say, they're rudderless.
They're another who've got a fantastic defense and a lot of good players on it. And they've actually got a star wide receiver as well, but they're wasted. You got to
Yeah,
figure Barry Brown's on the move
yeah.
this year.
Dane Key's been really good, hasn't he, all year? He's
Yeah,
put some
yeah.
great performances. You got to think these Kentucky, like they say, these star defensive players, how long are they going to stay in Kentucky
Until they get
before
a
they go to like,
big move.
yeah,
Yeah,
before they go to like say A&M,
yeah,
LSU.
yeah.
Like I say, the defensive powerhouses of the SEC where they can get their draft stock because it's not going to happen
No,
right here, right now, is it?
no.
They're gonna waste their time.
Yeah, yeah. It's two teams that are struggling, but Florida, who I don't know, who knows with them? We'll have to see. I would like to see him get one more year. Do what Miami have done with Cristobal, because they stuck with him when they could have got rid of Cristobal, and they're starting to see results with him now. They held on just long enough, and Miami turned it round. So maybe Florida can do the same as well. There's still even more upsets here. The most unlucky team in the country lost again this week in a big upset, and I say this as a North Carolina State fan. We went on the road to Cal. Cal were 9.5 point home favourites for this because, of course, we've got no Grayson McCall anymore, and we've looked like a rudderless ship. And CJ Bailey has taken his time to accustomize to the role, but unfortunately for the ACC, he's starting to look pretty good now. 25 of 35, 273 yards, two touchdowns on the day for him. Kevin Conception continues to look like the absolute stud that he is. Justin Jolie looks amazing. And Cal, I mean, this is cruel. Cal are 0-4 in ACC play this year. They have lost those four games by a combined 9 points. You think the one they led up against the one they led up against Miami, sorry, that tiny defeat to Florida State, this 1 point reverse to NC State, because if I remember rightly, we were quite far behind in this game at one point going towards the end. We were 23-10 down at the end of the third quarter, and we managed to get two unanswered touchdowns on the fourth. And when it's not your year, it's not your year, and this is just not Cal's year. Four defeats in conference by 9 points, and they go down again, and they're gonna lose a lot this year. Jade Knott is gonna go to the draft. Mendoza might well transfer somewhere else if he's not gonna get any wins there, but probably the most unlucky team in college football, and the stats back it up.
Yeah, like I say, we've seen some outstanding individual performances. We've seen them go toe to toe with some of the best teams in the country on both sides of the ball, and it's like they just keep finding ways to either shoot themselves in the foot or just come out on the wrong side of decisions. And yeah, you could make a case where you could one play happens differently, you could flip all the results and they're 4-0 in play and then they're a contender. So yeah, they're not a bad team, but all the results, like say, you'd look at them on paper and say they stink, but it's just not the case. You'd have to go in, you have to watch the tape, you've got to watch how they've lost, the individual performances they've had, and you'll see that it's a team right now that is just failing to find ways to see out games. And it will come sooner or later, but it's just going to be too late in their season.
It is. Need to go back to the drawing board there. They're not far off, but they're not close enough either. You've got to win. And then we've still got three more considerable upsets this week. So now we go down into the group of five, and the Sun Belt was turned on its head this week, right? Two of the big favorites in there. Texas State, 11-point favorites on the road to Ricky Rahn's Old Dominion Monarchs, who continue to be a pest in the side of anyone who comes their way into their house. Defeated 24 to 14. The Monarchs come out victorious. And then James Madison. I mean, James Madison are missing Kurt Signetti more than Kurt Signetti is missing James Madison. They were comprehensively beaten on the road. 5 point road favourites against Georgia Southern. They lost 28 to 14. You know, we profiled the Sun Belt in the run up to this year, said it's probably going to be as unpredictable and it's just a battleground where everybody can beat everybody. And two very plucky underdogs this week getting big wins over some of the signature names in there. It's just as we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, that was a game that it felt like James Madison they could not afford to lose that. That was a very uncharacteristic result, and it throws the cat among the pigeons. Like say, they're now a two-loss side. Is two losses going to be enough to make the playoffs as a group of five? There's going to be a lot of two-loss teams, especially in the G5, and it feels like they might have just kind of let slip on what could have been a great historic year. Still firmly in the title. Well, not even firmly in the title race because look at their conference record at 1-2. That's terrible. Like I say,
Mm.
they're fourth because of that. Is what they're doing in conference going to cost them a chance at their title game? Like I say, so very costly loss in the grand scheme of things. If they missed the championship game this year, you probably look back at that and think, that might have been the week where it kind of like say slipped out of hands a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you just don't know. We can have a look at the standings when we're done with this, but yeah, James Madison are struggling, and Kurt Signetti 7-0 with Indiana. You know, it seems like maybe a coaching thing there, but Bob Chesney is certainly he's struggling after that big win against UNC a few weeks ago. You thought, oh, maybe they're just going to be absolutely fine, but sometimes it's not always the case. And then the other big upset this week was down in the CUSA. Louisiana Tech on the road were 12-point favorites against New Mexico State, who've had a horrible year when Jerry Kill left, but they lost it overtime 33 to 30. So from the top to the bottom, there's been a lot of upsets this week. A lot less teams who survived scares this week because so many were upset. But one of the games of the week, and we talked about them earlier, came in the Big 12, and BYU and Oklahoma State in an absolutely ding dong battle. And I say ding dong, this thing went to and fro, leads changed, everything went crazy. And, you know, you got down to the last quarter in this. It's 28-21 to BYU at the start of the fourth quarter. Oklahoma State get a touchdown through Brennan Presley to level it up. Then BYU get a field goal. But then with 1 minute 13 seconds left, Oklahoma State get a touchdown and take the lead. Brennan Presley, once again, he's going absolutely mad this year. And, you know, despite everything that's been thrown at them, they were able, BYU, they had an 8 play, 75-yard drive that took 1 minute and 2 seconds. And, you know, we talk about Iowa State having a backbone and resolve this year and been able to win sometimes when you're not playing at your best. I mean, BYU they had to convert a 4th and 7 on this drive. They had to convert another 3rd and long in there. But Jake Retzlaff, like Rocco Becht, when he needed to, convert him with his feet. He had a 27-yard run on this one. And then, of course, the 35-yard touchdown pass to Darius Lassiter that won them this. Like, this was a big test for BYU. Ollie Gordon's rediscovered his form for Oklahoma State after a slow start. They ran the ball
Yeah.
well. They used 3 quarterbacks in
That
this,
was Ollie
but
Gordon's best game of the year by far.
it's just a table tennis match, just ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. And when the chips were down on the table, BYU came up trumps with one of the clutchest drives they'll have had in a long time.
Yeah, like I say, it was one of those games where back and forth. I suppose none of the QBs really covered themselves in glory. Retzlaff, like you say, was sloppy. Feel sorry for Garrett Rangel, like you say, season-ending surgery. Like you say, he had a horrible hit. Like you say, broke his collarbone. His season's over. Like you say, he landed super hard off that tackle,
Mm.
and you knew he wasn't right when he got up and he had to walk off. Couldn't even hold his arm. And then yeah, but Bowman, like you said, that this savvy veteran he is, came in. kept them in the game, like say, picked his shots, took his chances. Gordon, yeah, had a great game, had easily his best average carry of the season with 6.7. Like say, it was in vain, unfortunately, but yeah, BYU between quarterback play, receivers, defense, and special teams find a way to just keep winning. Was it a great performance? No. Will they look back at everything on it with absolute fondness? Of course they won't. No, but ultimately, the only thing that matters is how you finish and not how you start. And yeah, they stay undefeated on the year. Like I say, we saw some great performances on the BYU side of the ball. Like I say, LJ Martin, great game. I really like Darius Lasser. He looks like a very interesting player going into next year's draft cycle, being a senior. Very productive so far this year. Like I say, he's already passed all of last year's totals already. So he's going to go on and have a career year for them. And yeah, on defense, plenty of tackles for losses, lots of passes defended. Like you say, really good defense and turnovers. Like I said, the turnovers were massive. Like I say, because Tanner Wall, like I say, his pick, he got all the way down to like I think the 1 yard line, 2 yard line. He was tackled. So unfortunate. Like I say, down at the one to not score a pick six. Like I say, they punched it in, and then Tommy Prasas, who is a true freshman, starting at safety for BYU, and that's big. Like I say, you don't usually start a true freshman safety, but came up with a big pick himself as well. So yeah, like I say, the defensive guys, like I say, getting it done, like I say, keeping it a good effort. And you look at the BYU remaining schedule. Let's see. So they've got
UCF, Utah,
UCF,
Kansas,
Utah, Kansas, Houston,
you.
ASU. I mean, could they win them all? Yep, they could. There's a realistic chance there of going the one to go unbeaten. I think that should be what they set out to be now. You want tell them we're going to run the table. Whatever will happen after that will be.
So BYU at 11, you've got to look at a team. Can it win a multitude of different ways? You look at the defense this year, it's given up 13, 15, 14, 9, 19. In the two games that it slipped up against Baylor, when they gave up 28, and Oklahoma State, they gave up 35. The offense scored more points. The offense, 41, 34, 38, 34, 41, 38. You've got you don't have to rely on a stingy defense every week. Your defense can have a bad week against Oklahoma State. That's fine. Ollie Gordon's going to carve you up. Ollie Gordon's going to carve a lot of teams up in his career. If you can win games when that defense isn't as good and your offense is good, and then on the flip side, when your offense is not as good, when they beat SMU, it was 18 to 15. They didn't score that many points, but they still won. When you're playing complementary ball like that, that's how you know a team is legitimately really dangerous.
Yeah, like I say, and they're doing all this without a run game. A run
Yeah.
game. Retzlaff is their leading rusher, and usually that's a sign of a bad team. That's usually not something you want to happen. But yeah, this guy is a one-man band. He's playing the harmonica. He's got the drums on his back. He's got the ukulele. He's got the strings on his feet. And right now, like you say, he's spinning plates. But he's doing it all effectively and he's winning games. And the defense, like I say, super stingy. The defensive backs, their backers, their safeties, they get involved in run games, they're getting takeaways. Super active. Like I say, their defense is one of the more underrated in the country. And yeah, they just find ways to keep winning. Like I say, right now, I look at their remaining game on the schedule. I don't see who's going to stop them. I don't look at any of their remaining opponents and really think they're going to have an answer to stop everything.
No, no, you're right. It's they're just a very tough, gritty, very well built team. I mean, that one, what is it? So you are 2 weeks away from Holy War. Like that might be the defining
Yeah.
one for
With
them. If
with like
you
I
can
say a
go and
team that is
win,
down to a freshman quarterback and just had its OC resign.
yeah. But that's
BYU could go in that be that yeah, that is personal.
that's the kind of game where form goes out the window and everything is put to one side and that's in Utah. So that might be the defining game for them. You got to feel you can go and win Holy War in Utah, then like the world is your oyster. You win a rivalry game that fierce, Gus. I don't think they've not played it for a couple of years now, have they?
Nope.
I can't remember. So this is even more personal because this is pent up. it's pent up rivalry as well. It's, if you've not played each other in a while, it gets even worse. So that's going to be a fascinating fixture when that comes through in a few weeks. In terms of other scares, I say there were not many. Missouri, they had to battle out of a massive hole against Auburn. Thought Auburn had this game won, but in true Auburn style, they somehow managed to lose it. Finished 21-17, but that 19 seed and that number one, that one loss column, that feels very kind to Missouri. I feel like
Yeah,
they're not a very good
they're
team
just
this
not that
year.
good.
No, they're just, he's so not that into you type thing. It's just,
Their schedule has been very fortunate up until now.
yeah.
They've played
I
at what
mean,
they came up against what one good credible opponent and they got their
and
ass handed
lost.
to them.
Yeah. And like the overtime win over Vandy. I mean, Vandy are a good team
I
this
look at
year,
the
but
games they've
still.
got coming up and I feel like that one's not going to last much longer.
No, they're really going to need to show like Luther Burden and Theo Weiss. You've just got to unleash them and hope so. But Auburn just continue to be hilarious for all that. Like they should have won this game. There's
Yeah.
so many games they
They
should have
they they
won,
left it out there, didn't they?
and Cam Coleman's not going to stay there. Like he had one catch in this game and it was a touchdown for like 50 yards, and you're like, why are you just not feeding this guy the ball every single time you throw it? Like he's going to go to somewhere that really appreciates him. They're not going to be able to keep him for long. So Missouri just hung on, and then we do have to include Vandy in this. Like we did say we wanted a big win from Vandy just to show that
They started very slowly.
these win. Yeah, it was tough going, and they were behind for a while. They played Ball State, so they got MAC opposition here. This is not Ball State are not the glitterati of the MAC. Um, but it was
It was
tough
the fourth
going.
quarter. Yeah, it was the fourth quarter, wasn't it? That's the only time they really looked like they had any authority.
Yeah, they did. Like Ball State took the lead in this, and then they were just dealing in field goals. Eli Stowers continues to look really good. Like he had 130 yards and a touchdown. We talk about Stowers from the from the Bama game. Like low key, he's got to be looking like a draftable project now because he is Taysom Hill. Like when I say he is the closest thing to Taysom Hill in existence. He is a gadget quarterback, running back, tight end, offensive lineman, receiver. He's got multiple 100-yard receiving games now. That boosts your stock big time. Like him and Pavia, they're continuing to look like legitimate draftable projects for Vandy now, and not just on day three, maybe.
Yeah. Like I say, Vandy. If Vandy, like you say, get one, two more wins, win a bowl game, and then some players to the draft, I mean, it's gonna be you couldn't ask for a better season if the guys get rewarded and, like you say, manage to a handful of them, even UDFAs, if they can get some of this Commodores roster onto NFL teams next year, practice squads, like I say, that will do the world of good for future recruitment as well. Not just in the season, like I said, the NFL teams take interest, that they can be interested in you while you're still at Vanderbilt. Like I said, that will do a lot for their credibility.
Yeah, I cannot think of that many. I can't think of that many Commodores in the NFL right now. I know Trent Sherfield's a Commodore. I think you have to go to special teams outside of that. There's not many. So, um, yeah, hopefully we get a few of them this year. That defense still good. Only 14 points in this one. Again, only Ball State, but that defense looks legit. Texas this week. How great would it be if they could beat Texas? I feel like they were the only ones in the country who were distraught by Texas losing this week because Texas now have a point to prove and are probably going to take it out on them. But if Texas won this, then they're the ultimate banana skin. They are not that anymore. So, yeah, that was it in terms of upsets. And then the others, we just go down into the pick watch here. For others, we had so Virginia Tech blew out Boston College. I don't know what's going on with Boston College. They look so good to start the year, and they've just completely fallen off a cliff. You all got this one on me. Kansas State completely blew out West Virginia. Kansas State look legit this year, right? Yeah, even I'm
DJ
going to say
Giddings
that now.
train, it shows no sign of slowing down with
Train,
Giddings.
train. It's a in rocket ship. Like the amount of times he was like, they were just West Virginia kept pulling themselves back into it, And then DJ Giddens just like, nah, you're just gonna. I mean, what did he come up with this week? His
There's
stat
got to be a
line
lot
was,
of draft interest in him. He's got to consider declaring as a junior.
I mean, Deuce Vaughn did it. I mean, it was two
Yeah.
touchdowns in
I
this
look at
for
DJ
him,
Giddens far superior than what anything I ever saw from Juice Vaughn.
and he's doing all
And he's
right, isn't
bigger,
he?
bigger
For
and stronger as well, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. But this K-State team is, you know what, West Virginia are not bad. West Virginia are in the upper half of the Big 12 now, and they just made them look stupid. And I was really disappointed. Garrett Green is clearly not healthy. After
No,
his
he looked
knock
terrible. Like I say, he didn't look like he should even have been out there.
no, that shoulder injury he took a couple of weeks back. He's just not been the same since, and it's really derailed their season. And Markiol looks all right in review, but just they couldn't get anything going in this, and it's a shame. But Iowa State is still flying the flag for my Big 12 one, but Kansas State absolutely obliterated them. And speaking of obliterations, Indiana moved to 7-0, 56-7 winners over Nebraska. Like that's just not even
The
funny at this
Nebraska
point.
hype train, well, it's not just derailed, it's gone off the side of a cliff.
Yeah, tell me about it. It's just they obviously the one bad thing was Curtis Rourke got
Raiola
hurt
actually
in
looks like
this.
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, through three. In 2024, Patrick Mahomes. What was it? Three picks, I think he threw in.
Yeah,
The trouble was, they asked him to throw nearly 50 times and they couldn't run the football. Like, you're asking a freshman quarterback to come in and, save you when Indiana's D line just teed off on him. Again, it's when you know that the pass is coming. There were only a couple of sacks in this, but the secondary was all over him. He was pressured all game. I actually thought he showed a good amount of restraint under some of the pressure he was under. Like he dodged it well. He got some good yards on the ground, but there's only so much you can ask a kid like that there. But Indiana, so this is tough now, right? Curtis Rourke is hurt for this weekend as a minimum against Washington. They're hoping he's back against Michigan State the week after this, but now in his absence, I know Taven Jackson has played for them before. I think he started some games for them last year, but this really feels now like Justice Ellison's about to get his examination of
oh
just
yeah, he's
how
about to get
good
a lot of
he
carries.
is. 9 carries for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns in this one, and he's having a stellar season. But now it's on him, and he's going to need to have a big game against Washington. But in terms of this one, like they're not even close. They're not mid-tier Big Ten anymore, Indiana. They're top-tier Big Ten. They've already put themselves a level above most of these other teams.
Yeah, they've shown head and shoulders on their day when everything's clicking, everything's firing. They're not to be trifled with, and they're not like you say, they're not just beating teams, blowing them out of the water. Like you said, they've got the capability to put 40, 50 points on good sides and don't feel bad about it. Yeah. True test now of their roster depth when a backup quarterback comes in. And we're going to see the coaching. Like I say, how good is the coaching that you can make a quarterback change at the most crucial part of your season? Do you look different? Or does it look effortless? If you put a system together where he just steps in, like say, you can give the running back 25 carries, take the pressure off him, and you wouldn't even know Curtis Rock's not there. So we're about to see what they're made of mentally and physically, endurance wise. So yeah, this is a big 2 weeks because the hand injury, isn't it? Is it
Mm.
for Rock? Yeah. So yeah,
The
this
thumb.
week, next week in doubt, like you say, yeah, the thumb, that's worrying.
So
So
it's Washington. They're not good this year.
yeah. Their
You would
defense
hope.
under
You
Steve
did,
Belichick has been okay. There's some good
yeah.
players. Their offense is patchy.
It's going to be tough for them, no doubt. That Michigan State one will be the tough one. If they're still playing well, if they beat Michigan this week, they're going to be on a right roll. So you're going to hope he's back. But a thumb for a quarterback is a nightmare. He's had surgery on it, so you always feel like with surgery they're just not going to come back so quickly and be great because surgery takes time to heal.
Yeah.
Um, so we'll see how they do without their starting quarterback. The other one in this, I don't even want to talk about them. Oklahoma. blown out 35-9 at home by South Carolina. Michael Hawkins tossed two picks early on. He got pulled for Jackson Arnold. You talk about quarterbacks. How does this help Oklahoma? Jackson Arnold starts, pulled. Michael Hawkins put in, plays one good game, pulled because he's doing bad. They put Jackson Arnold back in again. It's not going to do them any good while they're playing Ring Around the Roses at quarterback. And they got good South Carolina this week. I'm absolutely fuming with them because we both bet on them the week before and they laid an egg and then good one comes along and blows out Oklahoma. Two teams I've begun to highly dislike this year, Ryan.
Yeah, it feels like Oklahoma have really made a mess of the quarterback situation. Another team now where whatever you do don't feel right. And also, you've got guys' confidence as well. Like, your confidence must be shot, like you say, the young lad, the freshman, like you say, he's been benched again. You don't know if he'll be called upon or what next time he steps on the field. Are you coming in, let's say you're coming in 21 points down. How does that help a guy if you're a quarterback and you're getting thrust into a game? Because let's say Jackson Arnold sucks and you throw a freshman in and he's 21 points down and you're asking what him to do a miracle. And if you
Mm.
don't, then yeah, it's a mess. And yeah, South Carolina, they're just you don't know what to expect. Like you say, are they good? Are they bad? It depends. They change like the weather, and
Mm.
they're impossible to pick on because you never know which side's going to turn up.
No, they are.
Although Norris Sellers, like you say, sometimes he looks like say the next great thing. Sometimes he looks like an average Joe.
I just have no care for them anymore. They just screw me every time you bet for or against them. They just do something to really annoy you, and it's. I mean, that Gamecocks team. You look at it on isolation. It's got a good defense. There are a lot of good defensive players on South Carolina. Some who I really like as prospects, but they're so hit and miss. When it comes to it, you just don't know what you're going to get from them. What is it? The corner is it Emin Worry? He had like three picks in this game or whatever it was, everywhere. Looks like a great player, and so this South Carolina defense is going to have prospects to look at for sure. And they had what was it? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10 sacks. Like that Oklahoma offensive line just non-existent. Their offense non-existent. It just seems weird they've gone into the SEC so unprepared. They just do not look prepared whatsoever, and they need to really hike it up for next year. Other pick watch ones we had. Eastern Michigan rallied from like 20 points down to beat Central. The crate
Oh
train
yeah,
is
Central
not
collapse,
dead.
didn't they?
The crate train is not dead. Yes, come on, Chris. We can do this. There's still a MAC championship out there for you somewhere. And then we're going to go down into FCS land because we had a rare FCS fixture in this one this weekend. And what could only be described as a terrible game of football or
I said
for the
though, Cam Miller,
sickos.
watch Cam Miller in the next draft.
The sickos will have loved this. North Dakota State beat South Dakota State 13-9 to render the Jackrabbits 5-2 on the year, and the Bison are now 7-1. But Cam Miller, 20 of 27, 163 yards, two touchdowns, taking the game on in lieu of them being able to run the football, which is weird because that's usually what they're good at. For South Dakota State, they did run the ball very well, but they were behind, so they had to start throwing it, and they're not as good at
Yeah,
throwing it.
Matt
And
Gronowski is actually one of the best quarterbacks in the country, but that's a bad performance by his standards in recent years. If you look at their offense, Jackrabbits, what they average like most weeks, they can score 50, 55 if they so choose. Like I say, but yeah, they were well off it.
but this North Dakota defense, the state defense, looks legit. We saw them at the first game of the year against Colorado. They were very tough, and they handed out a lot of punishment, and they look really good. And they seem to have a lot of talent in there, say to go with a quarterback who does it, but for the Bison, that gives them I don't know what the current landscape is in there, but that would feel like it gives them a little bit of a stranglehold on it this year.
Yeah, you've got them, you've got Montana State again. Like I say, they're the front runners. Like I say, when the first provisional if the playoff rankings come out, you'd expect NDSU to, like you say, be at the front. Like I said, they're leading the pack now.
Mark is happy that the Bison won. Very close ties to that university. So yeah, the Bison are looking good on this, and the Jackrabbits not
Yeah.
so.
So they're now number one. Yeah, NDSU 7-1.
Well, there you go.
Montana State a second 8-0. South Dakota State have gone from 1 to 3.
Yeah. Um, Indeed. Are there any other games you want to mention from the week just gone?
I don't want to talk about Jeff Sims because I told everyone. What's worrying is, like I say, it was 1 or 2. It's now like 3 to 4 weeks. There's a chance. I don't know if Sam Levitt might. It could be too late by the time he returns. I don't think he's playing on
Oh,
Sunday.
no, no,
He's only
it's
50-50 to play. They're not going to risk him, are they? If he's not
no,
100%, they're not going to play him. So yeah, and we've seen, yeah, they don't look good without him there.
no, they do not at all. It's a shame.
Promising year has just gone up in smoke.
It's a shame because they had so much to like there,
Yeah,
and
they were
then
Big 12 title contenders, but after this weekend, if they lose, that dream has died.
Mark goes, I wore my Bison t-shirt yesterday, raking, lol. Oh yeah, they'll be loving that. I guess it's a big rivalry. You'll be wearing your Bison shirts this weekend and winding the Jackrabbits up. I guess we do need to talk, for Brent's sake, about Army. So Army blow out East Carolina. Bryson Daly, 7 of 10 for 147 yards and a touchdown as a passer, 30 carries for 170 yards and 5 touchdowns as a rusher. He is, and I saw this, the first quarterback in Army Black Knights history of all time to throw for a passing touchdown and have 5 rushing touchdowns. And I believe, if I'm right, he's third in the nation in rushing yards right now behind Ashton Gionte and Amarian Hampton. That's the company he's keeping right now. And I'm pretty sure in terms of total touchdowns, he's right up there as well. I mean, could we see a service quarterback like threatening UDFA status somewhere? Because hell, man, he is built like a running back, but he slings the dart around as well. 7 of 10 for a service quarterback. He's having a very tidy year.
It feels like to go pro, well, to get the army to release him, it feels like it's going to be a move to running back. Like Keenan Reynolds did, the old Navy quarterback.
Yeah.
He went to wide receiver running back, didn't he? And he hung around in league for 2 or 3 years, didn't he? And it kind of worked. This will happen with Bryson Daly. If he wants to make the NFL, someone will say, can you return? Can you run the football? And will you please play slot receiver? And if he's willing to try all them things, I genuinely believe he will be on a practice squad for 2 or 3 years and he may see him get elevated at sometimes. There's just a raw athlete there, and he's got those
Mm.
things you just can't teach. And it would be a shame to not try him and see what he's got. Very coachable. He's in the military, so like, come on, like how many more? You couldn't get these kids any more ready to like say do anything you'd ask of them. So yeah,
Yeah.
it feels like there's maybe a sneaky chance of a pro football career there.
Yeah. But yeah, you'll have to see with it, won't you? I think he could. Like you are keeping good company there. If you go and if he gets into the playoffs, has a good playoff game, who knows? The sky's the limit for these guys, and you have to take a look at their defense. They've sent defenders to the NFL in recent years. So you're gonna have to start looking at this team more in depth now as we're going forward. We'll have to look at some of the key players for this Army Black Knights side. On the flip side, Navy crushed Charlotte 51 to 17. Which was funny because Charlotte had over 500 yards of offense and Navy had less than 300, and Navy dropped 51 on them. That defense of theirs is getting better. It's getting to Army levels of good now. Oh, I know the one that annoyed me. Notre Dame and Georgia Tech. If Georgia Tech would have had Haynes King, they'd have
Yeah,
beaten
I
Notre
picked them,
Dame.
and I called it out. I said
Yeah.
George take upset, and I'm like, oh, they were so close.
Yeah, if they'd have had Haynes King playing quarterback, they'd have won that game, and I will stand and die by that. That was a close game until the end when Georgia Tech let it slip. But Notre Dame, biggest frauds right now. They just do not look good. They when they come up against a good team again, they're going to lose. But you did call it right, Ryan. I have no doubt that GT would have beaten them if that would have, stayed as it did. Any others that stand out? Trent Dilfer lost again. How's he not been fired at UAB by now? They lost to USF this week. His numbers coming up soon. There's an interesting one going on in New Mexico. New Mexico are 2-1 in the Mountain West. They're 3-4 on the year. They've dropped another 50 burger this week. I think they've scored over 53 times this year. Not sure what's going on in the New Mexico water this year, but something's stirring there, and we might have to have a look at it if they carry on doing what they do. But it's 50-45 over Utah State, and they were able to put them away. So consider me intrigued by that one there. Outside of that, I'm not sure there's anything. Again, anything else you want to mention, Ryan, before we move on?
Not that I can think of.
No. No, don't think so. UNLV beat Oregon State. They were favored for that. TCU beat Utah. Oh, there's all sorts of good stuff going on. But a great week, tons of upsets, and it was absolutely great action all round. And let's finish it off as we always do. We'll switch it ahead to next week. We'll do our pick watch and see where we're at with some of these. So this is what I've envisioned as trap week, because there are 10 more obvious answers here than you might think, but all 10 of them I think has a good chance to slip up this week. So I'm going to be intrigued. Let me just get up our chart so I can fill this in. But I've put the first one up there because it could be one of the games of the week. Right, I'm interested in your thoughts on this. Syracuse at Pittsburgh. This rejuvenated Syracuse
Two gunslingers.
franchise under Fran Brown, with their shiny, flashy Ohio State quarterback at the helm against Pittsburgh and Eli Holstein, who is legitimately having a low par Heisman year, and this very fierce Pittsburgh defense. But the Qs play good defense as well, and the Qs like to sling the ball around. This feels, like you said, two gunslingers going at it, and Pitt are under pressure have been an undefeated team, and the more games you win, the more that pressure goes up. And Syracuse, for them, this is a free shot on the road here. What are you thinking in regards to this huge ACC battle?
Do you think playing outside in Pennsylvania might affect Syracuse? Because they've been playing in a dome all year at all and been really well at home.
But they're not relying on the run as much. Like, usually that would affect them running the ball, wouldn't it? Been outside and it been slippier, and I don't know. I've learned not to underestimate Fran Brown and this Orange team. Pittsburgh are going to be under a lot of pressure. This is pressure they've not felt in a while. Obviously, they won the ACC not so long ago under Narduzzi, but they've had a couple of hard years, and this is a young team. And Eli Holstein showed in his last game that the nerves are there.
Well, Q's actually 2-0 on the road, so...
And that Syracuse secondary...
Yeah, Juice Chestnut, he's back. He's playing well.
They're getting... Well, Fran Brown was DB's coach at Georgia, and how much talent have they sent from the DB room to the NFL? It's a good secondary.
Do you know what? I'll take the orange upset.
So this is why they're in there. Because I'm going for I love Pittsburgh.
I don't think it'd be a huge upset, if I'm honest. But yeah, I'll take them. I'm guessing they'll be underdog. They'll be road underdogs, won't they?
They are road underdogs. So I'm going Syracuse as well. I have a feeling. My feelings are usually bad, but I have a feeling about them, and I want to see what is right. Sunbelt next. These both games are on Thursday, and the two upsetters this week: Georgia Southern on the road against the Old Dominion Monarchs and Ricky Rahn, and it's once again a very tough place for any team to go and want to play. The Georgia Southern Eagles are 5-2 on the year. Old Dominion are 3-4. They've got big wins over Texas State was their last one. They've beaten Georgia State. They lost by just a score to Coastal Carolina. They've beaten Bowling Green, one of the better MAC sides. Like, this is very tough, right? It's, Southern, you would always bet against Old Dominion as a rite of passage usually, but this team is very resilient and very tough to beat, and Georgia Southern are very hit and miss, but they're 5-2 and they're fighting for the top of the Sun Belt with the teams losing up there. Georgia Southern are in the Sun Belt title race, and so could Old Dominion be if they win this one? I think this is a really tight one. I'm not sure at all. Who have you got?
I think this is where Georgia Southern makes its claim as the championship. Yeah, I think they might just have too much in the locker, but it should be a close game. Should be entertaining.
See, this is where I'm starting to fall behind in the pick watch, and this is where my emotional side starts to drag me down. I'm gonna take the Monarchs in an upset here. I'm not sure what the line is. I think it's just the Georgia Southern, but I'm gonna take the Old Dominion Monarchs here. I want them to do well, and it's a split count amongst everybody else, so it's good because everybody's choosing different. The next one we talked about who is going to be sent to the playoffs out of the group of five, and this may be the fixture that decides it. It is Boise State at UNLV. You've got the Ashton Giante train, the unstoppable force that is him, against the immovable object, which is Brennan Marion and the Go-Go at UNLV, which continues as a minimum to put up 30 to 40 points every single week, even though it's had to undergo a quarterback change. They've made it look seamless. Now, the Rebels defense is liable to giving up a few points, but they score more than enough. And Haj Malik Williams looks right at home here. Ricky White is in the form of his life right now. 300-yard games in a row. He had a 98-yard one this time. He's blocked 3 field goals this year on his own, which is more than any team in the FBS told. Just one of those weird little stats. This game of the week right away. I don't think there's going to be a game better than this one. It could be 100-point classic game that we're talking about in 10 years' time. Boise State at UNLV. Who is going to put forward their claim to be king of the mountain? Because if you win this, it's going to be very hard to keep you out the playoffs.
So I'm looking at the total defense, and UNLV is giving up 105 yards rushing per game and 11 rushing touchdowns on the season. So you can run the ball on the Rebels. I just feel like Ashton Jonte is going to feast. Yeah, give me Boise State in a 85 point shootout.
See, again, I'm going on emotions. I'm a Marion stan. I love this UNLV offense and the way it plays football. I'm going to go with them for the upset, and nobody else has picked them either. So you're in with the crowd there. So everyone's fancying Boise. I fancy UNLV in that, but I think it's going to be, if you're going to watch a game this week, anyone, watch that one. It's going to be a slobber knocker. And then we've got the top 2 teams in the SEC, right? Number 1 and 2, technically, maybe not the 2 best. We got the LSU Tigers away at the Texas A&M Aggies. Texas A&M are top of the SEC right now, whether you can believe it or not. They've won 6 straight after that opening loss to Notre Dame. Granted, they've not played any of the proper heavy hitters yet, but they are grinding out results. And LSU, they also have recovered from an early setback, and they are also 6-1. This is the battle of the 6-1s at the top of the SEC. A&M have home advantage. Again, a lot of people would just say, "Oh, it's going to be LSU because A&M will screw up." But Mike Elko's given a
I
backbone to
picked
the
A&M once already
Aggies.
this year, and they got the job done in a big game. I'm going to take the Aggies.
I am as well. Again,
It's that defense.
it's great, isn't it? Like it's so good this year.
And I saw somewhere like the current offensive LSU line is giving up no sacks.
Yeah.
That changes on Sunday.
Yeah. This is a potential game of the week here. There's 2 teams who I think they've got nothing to lose, right? They're
Oh,
gonna
breaking
have to
news, Washington State and Oregon State will play each other twice in 2025.
twice.
Yep. They'll be playing
Wow.
in Oregon and Washington. They're going to play each other twice next year.
Wow. Yeah, because they're independents next year still, aren't they? The Pac-12 doesn't come back
Yep.
to 2026. So,
They play each other
wow.
in the same month as well. They play each other twice in November.
Wow. What, do they just do it back to back? Like one week they play in Oregon, one week they play in
First and
Washington.
29th, so start at
Oh.
month and end at month.
Interesting. So double. Okay, there you go. That's a shocking one. Right. So yeah, Washington State, Oregon State play each other twice in a month next year. I guess they've had to fill out the schedules
Yeah,
at late notice,
must be
and they're
cost
like,
effective as well. They're going to stick together.
yeah, yeah, I guess so. Okay, they've done that one there. Where were we at? Sorry. So Texas A&M sweep for us there, and weirdly enough, only one person's picked LSU. Two people have picked LSU, and five have picked A&M so far. So here's hoping. Right, we have two undefeated service teams, right? One of them's going to face the toughest test it's faced all year. We're talking Navy versus Notre Dame. This is not this is getting played at MetLife in East Rutherford. So this is a neutral site here. Although I believe, no, it's Army that's headquartered in New York, isn't it? Not Navy.
Yeah, West Point.
Navy's in West, Navy's in, yeah. So Navy versus Notre Dame. Now, we remember last year, we remember the Ireland game. It's one of the worst games we've ever seen in history. Notre Dame just, it wasn't even funny how uncompetitive that game was. But it feels 14 months on, this Notre Dame team is not as good as it once was, despite the record saying they're a pretty good team. We saw they were not good against Georgia Tech. Navy undefeated offense, which is just putting up stupid amounts of points. Now, they are vulnerable on defense, but it has been getting better as the year goes on. And more importantly, they are good when it comes against the run. And Notre Dame are relying a bit more on the run in recent weeks, especially with the quarterback. Now, again, logic would just say, oh, yeah, pick Notre Dame. It's more likely here. But are we going to see the service team shock us all and actually show that they're legit? Or are we going to have to wait till they play Army for that?
Well, when Navy played the biggest team and biggest offense, they got 44 drops on them. They scored 56. So they're able to get it done both ways. And I actually think why is no one talking about Blake Horvath as one of the best quarterbacks in the nation? Like I said, they don't mention him in the same conversation, do they? Give me the Navy upset. I
We've
think Blake
done it.
Horvath is going to pass them to death and he's going to be leading Russia.
Oh wow. He's gone for the Navy upset. I think it's going to be very close. I think Notre Dame are going to continue to scab wins. I will maybe say this when Army play them. I might do then. I'm gonna go Notre Dame this time because I've got a lot of emotional bets this week. I do need to put one in that has a better chance, but we will see. I've got Notre Dame, but we're split. But if Navy beat them, man, they're leading the show next week if Navy beat Notre Dame, no matter what happens in the rest of it. So I'm fun with that. BYU at UCF. Now, we've just seen how good UCF can be on their day. BYU are riding that undefeated streak. Jake Retzlaff and co look great. But UCF, they have freshman quarterback who looks good and he's starting to settle into that team. They've got RJ Harvey, who is absolutely immense, and they're at home as well. This is the ultimate trap game for the number 11 ranked team in the nation. Do they slip on a banana skin this week, or do they put UCF in their place?
UCF are not good at home.
See, I'm gonna cheat a little bit here. Where are we? I need to see run defensive grades for the year. If they can, where are BYU in rushing defense? If you're not too high, no, you're not on the bottom of the screen. That's good. No, 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 no. You're not on the 64th. They give up 141 yards per game on the ground on average against the dual threat team. Quarterback's a dual threat. They just landed 350 down on Iowa State.
I'll take BYU because I think it's the UCF quarterback situation that irks me. I feel like a defense that can pick on him.
See, BYU with a feel-good story, and I want them to continue being good. So I'm going to pick BYU as well, but I've got a sneaking suspicion this might be the week where they really do slip up. And we're staying down in the Big 12, and it's Derby time. Kansas State and Kansas. Kansas State are at home. They're 6-1. The Jayhawks are 2-5. And you look at this and you're like, you've got a ranked team who've just absolutely um, obliterated West Virginia, who are a better team on their day than Kansas. But right, it's a rivalry game, and
Kansas offense
it's
has been
not
pretty good.
always, yeah, it's their defense that's kind of been a bit sucky, but this Kansas State offense is pretty damn good. It seems on paper one of the easier ones, but the rivalry games, it just goes out the window and it's so unpredictable. You're going for the obvious one or the upset, which would probably be as big as a Navy one.
Problem is for me, like I say, the Kansas defense just doesn't pull its weight, so I'll have to go with the Wildcats.
I'm going with the Wildcats as well, just for anything for reverse
Poor
juju.
Kansas, their next three games are just brutal.
Yeah, they are indeed. Sticking with derbies, going back up to the Big Ten, time to put your money where your mouth is. Michigan State at
Spartans,
Michigan.
give me
Oh,
Spartans.
look at that. I did not even have to finish that, and he's going Spartans. You know what?
Spartans by 10 plus.
You you know what? I'm not. I'm exactly the same as you. It's not that I think there's an upset. I actually feel comfortable. I felt uncomfortable picking Michigan last week because I knew in my head that Illinois were probably a bit better, but it was just peer pressure, etc. You expect them to win. I like this under. I like underdog
Sharon Moore,
teams.
he's on the rocks right now. I can feel it. The tide turning. He's under a lot of pressure.
And for Jonathan Smith and Michigan State, he's just going to be saying to them all week, guys, you've got a free hit here. If they lose this, obviously it hurts, but no one's going to turn around and think any the less of them. They're defending national champions. So they've got a free hit here. If Michigan lose, this is going to be massive for them. Like all the pressure's on them. And quarterback situation is not good. Michigan State have been better at getting to the quarterback recently, so I will pick them as well. A preview of what we thought might the MAC championship game might be Bowling Green at Toledo. And we've seen that Toledo are vulnerable this year and not maybe the powerful force they once before. And Bowling Green have one of the best tight. I mean, is he the best tight end in the nation?
Oh, number 0.
Number 0, Harold Fanning, like he had what? He had like 180 yards on 10 catches in the last game against Akron, but maybe the best tight end in college football resides at Bowling Green. Who'd have thunk that, hey? After Colston Loveland. But Bowling Green, they are a good team. Connor Bazelak is playing very good football right now. He played turnover-free football last week. They're 3-4, which it gives it. But I mean, the losses are to Penn State, to Texas A&M, and there was the one to Old Dominion, but I'm not going to count that. They're fine. They're on a 3-game win streak right now. They've beaten Akron. Oh, sorry, they've lost to Northern Illinois as well. So, but they've beaten Notre Dame. It's a tough one, but this is Bowling. Bowling Green have got to win this if they want to go to the MAC title game, and they are
Yeah,
one of the better
it
teams
is
in
must win, yeah.
there. But for Toledo, they got out of their funk the other week. They lost after Candle's new deal, but they got back to winning ways. They're always a good team. They're at home. It's going to be a tough assignment for Bowling Green, but can they
Yeah,
cause the
see
upset?
Toledo 3-0 at home, Bowling Green are 1-2 on the road, so I'll lean just towards the Rockets.
See, I'm. Oh, no, don't do it, Anthony. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm going to pick Toledo under duress. I can't genuinely. I
This is
cannot.
a genuine one where I wouldn't be surprised if Bowling Green won.
No, and I wouldn't blame them if they won either. And then the final one, and this is a real trap game, Penn State at Wisconsin. So Penn State, obviously their big ones coming up in a week, but they're going to be looking forward to that Ohio State game. Are they going to look
See,
past a
look what
Wisconsin
I picked
team?
Rutgers against Wisconsin, and they got their ass handed to them.
Rutgers
Mm.
have just fallen off a cliff as well. 3 defeats in a row. But this last 3 games for Wisconsin, they've won. Now, bearing in mind, they've played Purdue, Rutgers, and Northwestern, but 52-6, 42-7, 23-3. They've literally given up 16 points in 3 games. This Wisconsin defense is brutal. Yes, it's been brutal against some of the poorer teams in there, but they're scoring. They're like 130-13 over the last 3, and Wisconsin have home field advantage here. Like Penn State, they're third in the nation. They're under a lot of pressure, and they're probably going to be feeling that Ohio State game next week. And this just feels this is banana skin territory. If they take their eye off the ball, this Wisconsin team can bite. Obviously, odds favor Penn State winning this, but this screams trap game to me, which is why it's in
Yeah.
there.
See, that Tui Walker is on a proper wreck right now, isn't he? His
Mm.
last 3 games, he's just been on a tear. Uh, I think Penn State have the better receivers, which I think I'll just take Penn State because I think they're better at their offense is more balanced.
Mm. Yeah, Wisconsin look good, but not against good opposition. So I'm going to pick Penn State
Braden
as
Locke's been
well.
okay, but yeah, he's just not dynamic enough at quarterback right now. He's still
Yeah,
only young.
yeah. Everyone's picking Penn State, but if they win, then everybody loses. So I do not mind that so much. So that is the pick watch there for this week. Let's just save this down and then we'll have a quick look because we've been going a while at the other fixtures coming up this week. So we've already had a couple of games. We had the worst game in the world yesterday. Sam Houston beat Florida International 10-7.
Well eligible though. For their first
Um,
time eligible, they've got a bowl game.
they are. Yeah, probably another one. They're 6-2 on this year, whereas FIU were 2-6, and I said they were going to a CUSA championship game. Huh, woe betide me. That was a bad
I
one.
think Pitbull
Um,
cursed FIU. I blame Pitbull.
but sickest thing, they had the Vice uniforms on and they had the Vice strip in the
They painted the
stadium.
field as well, yeah, in their
It
colors.
looks fantastic, and there were no fans there. Like if any field deserved a full crowd to make it look good, it was that, and it
They're
was
too bad to
empty.
have uniforms that good. What's the point?
Yeah, they did. So, and then Louisiana Tech beat UTEP 14-10. There were literally 41 points scored in the 2 games between 4 teams. That was just defensive hell. There's more tonight. Kennesaw State are at home to Liberty. They're going to get blown out by them. God, if Liberty lost that, that'd be funny. Where are we going here? Ranked games. So I didn't put this in, but Illinois are on the road to Oregon. Any semblance of a chance that Illinois defense is going to have the game of its lives, probably score a couple of touchdowns and just have like 5 or 6 turnovers and have the offense do enough.
I
Is
don't
there
think they can
any
win, but I
chance?
think they can keep it within a touchdown.
I would like it to be competitive. You've beaten Michigan. You need to show that you are right up there with them. So, yeah, I would like it to be close. I don't see an upset, but we'll see. We've got Nebraska on the road at Ohio State. I mean,
Rutgers,
Christ,
USC. Who
that could
stops the skid?
USC.
Rutgers have got to win, aren't they? But I feel
I
like they're
feel
in
like they've
trouble.
bottomed out. I feel like they've bottomed out. They've bottomed out
I can see the
completely.
Trojans winning that.
Yeah, Nebraska on the road to Ohio State. That's probably they could drop a hundo on them. Texas away at Vanderbilt. Come on, right? No one predicted the Alabama one. Can Vandy do it again?
No.
Like I said, if they'd have beaten Georgia, I would have had more hopes of Vandy beating Texas if they'd beaten Georgia. The fact they've lost, they're going to be pissed. And they're probably going to whack a huge amount of points down on Vandy there. Florida State on the road to Miami. Now, this is like Florida State were absolutely atrocious there, but this is technically a rivalry game as well. This feels like the biggest of biggest banana skins for Miami. Miami have nothing to gain by winning this, but they have everything to lose. And Florida State are in the kind of reverse. They have nothing to lose here. Can Miami be that bad that it feels like the offense is going to put up too many points? But
Yeah, there's too many points. I've seen all the Florida State quarterbacks right now, and none of them they just don't look ready yet,
no.
just to command the offense.
So we got Washington away at
Oh, we've
Indiana.
not spoke about the big game, SMU Duke.
Oh, we're getting there. SMU ranked 22 against.
Yeah, Duke 6-1, 6-1. This
No,
feels like the
no,
loser. The
no.
loser is done for.
Right, I'm going to say this. SMU are a much better team than Duke. I was
Yes.
disgusted
Duke's
with Duke
defense
the
other
other
day
day.
was brilliant, but their
Yes,
offense, Malik Murphy's been hot and cold. I think SMU will blow them out.
they had what? I can't remember. They had no offense whatsoever. It was turnovers.
Ooh.
Like they literally had.
Cincinnati, can they upset Colorado? They have been very good recently, the Bearcats.
I feel, yeah,
That could be a massive, that could be a high score of that.
that is a dark horse game. That is. You're right. We're not focused
Cincinnati
much
are
on
firm.
Cincinnati
If they
this
win
year.
that, they're firmly in the Big 12 title race.
That's just odd. Cincinnati. So Cincinnati will probably have been towards the bottom. BYU was certainly towards the bottom.
Oh, ESPN predictor says it's 69% to Colorado predicted to win. I think that's crazy.
Is it a Boulder?
Uh, yeah, but that don't bother me. Give me the Cincinnati upset.
Okay, you hear
They're
it
going into
there.
Boulder. They're taking down the Buffs.
Um, yeah. Oh, I don't know. It's there's some intriguing ones knocking around there. You got Washington away at Indiana, Missouri away at Alabama. We're calling no upset there, right? That's a ranked fixture, 21 on 15, but we're calling no chance there, right? No way
Yeah,
Missouri win at Bama.
no.
Oklahoma at Ole Miss. I'm not even gonna entertain that. It feels like a game Lane Kiffin could lose, but no. Oh, where else are we here? UNC, Virginia. Oh, I don't know if there's much else. Oklahoma State, Baylor, that could be 150 points. Who knows with
West
them?
Virginia, Arizona,
That could be good.
both really struggling right now. But
I
yeah,
think
could
I
be
think
interesting.
I think we're gonna fall off a cliff now. So ULM, we did the feature on Louisiana Monroe the other week. They're coming off a bye. They're away at South Alabama, who are traditionally not a good place to. Can they? Vincent's actually already getting. People are saying he should go to Southern, not Southern Miss, to the other one. Right, I'm just blank now. East Carolina. They're saying that, like he's already getting linked to the East Carolina job. It's like he's not even been there half a year,
See,
and he's already getting job offers.
Gio Lopez has looked so good as a rusher.
Yeah.
I like South Alabama.
Oh, and we've got stinking game of the week. Auburn at Kentucky.
No one
Right,
wants to
right.
win
Let's do over under picks in that game. I'm gonna say 7. That feels like a game where there's gonna be 6 or 7 picks. I could go 7. So
Yeah.
Brent's gone Illinois over Oregon. Brent believes in the Illini. That is interesting. I mean, I'm guessing there's some form of he's trying to calculate Michigan getting back into the race here involving that because Oregon need to lose a lot more. Or whether he just likes Illinois. I don't know. Um, I think that's about it in terms of others. Anything else you want to mention? Nevada versus Hawaii. So it was mentioned earlier that Hawaii have been a disappointment this year, which I believe they have. I've not even looked to see what their record is. I don't think it's good. They got blown out by Wash State this week. They're 2-5 on the year. Who have they beaten? They've beaten Delaware State and Colorado State. Oh, they're actually on a 5-game losing streak. They're playing Nevada this week, and Nevada are a damn good team. So they got to beat Nevada, and they're at home. Then they got Fresno State, UNLV, and then New Mexico, who are
Oof,
dropping
that's
50
a rough
burgers
end to the
every
year,
week.
that.
It is. It is. So Hawaii have got to win this week to salvage something, but no bowl season there for Timmy. Unfortunately, it looks like, which is a shame. I mean, they've not been losing. by much. They lost by 3 to San Diego State. Oh, mind you, they got blown out by Sam Houston and Boise. So yeah, they lost by 3 to UCLA. They just they can't take that next step, man. Right, that about everything.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we're there. I think we've been going a while, so yeah, we will see what happens, and of course, we will be back next week to review week 9. Probably not going to be as many upsets as were this week, but we remain to be surprised. We will see. Thanks to everyone who's joined this evening. We really appreciate you all as always. Again, if there's anything you ever want us to do during the season, player-wise, team-wise, anything, let us know. We'll get into that for you. With us getting into the business end of the year. We'll start doing some player-focused stuff next week. We'll start looking at some of the stats leaders, some of the players who are breaking out, etc. We'll start diving down into them because we've had some crazy weeks with so much good games to talk about. We don't have time to talk about the players as much, but yeah, we will get into that. And as always, let us know if there's anything you want us to scout out about. Next shows, as I say, the main podcast is back tomorrow. It's Detroit Lions. We're talking at home to Tennessee Titans, hoping to have a Titans content creator on with us, which should be good fun. So join us for that. And of course, me and Ryan will be back in a week's time to go through week 9 of the college football season as always. Don't forget, you can find us all over at Roar of the Lions UK, etc. Just type us in. You will find us. I do think Matt is knocking around, but I will just double check to make sure he is because I don't want to. Yeah, he's here. So yeah, we're all done for the evening. Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Mile Marker. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Grandizer. Thank you all who've joined us this evening. We always appreciate you having you in here to talk about college football for a few hours during the week. And yeah, we'll see you soon. Don't forget, Boise UNLV. Watch it. It's on Friday, I believe. One of the games of the week. Hopefully, we can chat about that one. But we'll see you soon. Have a good day, and we'll be talking Lions tomorrow. Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it. One pride.
Recording stopped.